All right, here we are. We're live. Yes, Bobby. What do you want?
I said I always wonder with the seriousness of that that StreamYard takes going live. It's like, you're alive. Please be courteous. Calm down.
What do you mean?
When you go live on StreamYard, it always like, you are live. The broadcast is live. Please mute your audio. Like, it always has all those little courteous warnings. I'm like, who's this for? Mindy says she can see and hear us. That might not be the most fortunate thing in the world today, Mindy.
Very true.
Helen Keller's got the leg up today. Yeah,
well, today we were going to talk with Michael. Michael Boss, the author of several books on it, and Randy Burr, Bigfoot Explorer. However, we were trying to connect with Michael several times, and he was popping in and out. And I was like, "Hey, if you just pop out one more time, let's just reschedule for next Sunday." So we lost Michael, but we'll have him on next Sunday. And I haven't heard back from Randy, but maybe he'll come back next Sunday. He'll have more time. So yeah, that's basically it. Now we're still going to talk about the original topic, which was talking about Michael's book. So Michael's book, I purchased it today on Kindle. Pretty cool app. You don't have to have the device. You could download Kindle on your PC or your phone. And I bought Michael's book on Randy. The link is in the description. I read a lot of it, and I just wanted to go over some points. And I'll do that with Bobby, and then I'll do the same on Sunday when I have the author and the subject, Randy and Michael, on the show. So that's it. We're still gonna talk about Bigfoot in particular, but just Bigfoot in general. But next Sunday, I promise, we should have Michael Quast and hopefully Randy Bauer.
Hey, Randy may pop in any minute too. You never know.
Thank you for being here, Joe. Iowax. Bobby, thank you for being here as my co-host. Anybody else in the room? Let's see. First, we have one from Iowax, who says, "I died by a rock from a slingshot 15 years ago." Now that's intense. Did you have a near-death experience, Iowax, 15 years ago?
Iowax is back from the dead.
Please subscribe to his channel. He does some gameplay and a lot of music, original music covers. He is back from the dead after another slingshot to the head. Maybe. He says, I jumped in the freezer, though. The military took the chance to create in digital form. Well, that's... I would do that if I had the opportunity to save Iowax from a certain death and resuscitate him in a digital form. I would take that option. What about you,
technology?
Bobby?
We can rebuild him. I'm rebuilding Iowax, the ultimate AI lyrics generator.
So now we're talking to the algorithm.
Yep, available for Android and iPhone.
And then we have Wild Dreams with Jimbo here. Thank you so much. He says evening. Thank you, sir. Premature shout out to welcome to the show who watches John P. Adventures, Scotty B, Nina Williams.
They'll be here at any minute.
And all the other regulars who will watch this.
And don't forget Mindy's there. We say hi to Mindy?
Yeah, they'll be here. Or they'll watch it later. I know they'll watch it later. So I did say hi to Mindy, but here's another hi to Mindy.
So I wasn't listening.
Big shout out to Mindy. Okay, let me pull up the title of the book just to let everybody know. I didn't memorize it. Let's see.
I did read the first few little excerpts they had on Amazon for it.
Bigfoot.
They got like a 5% of the book available on Amazon. I skimmed it.
Okay, so the book is called, he's written several books, okay? Michael's written several books, but the one that I read a lot of today is called Sasquatch Central, Hot Strangeness at a North Minnesota Homestead by Mike Quast. Okay. So first of all, I bought a version which is digital. It was $9.99 plus tax. I downloaded the app for the first. The app is very simple to use. The process for buying the book is very simple. I think that's a good price for a digital version of the book. You do have to buy it on Amazon, so you have to buy it on Amazon, and then it'll transfer to the Kindle app, which is free and anybody can buy. The Kindle app has some pretty cool features on it. Like the one feature called, I don't even remember what it's called. I just downloaded it today. But what it does is you could pick how many words per minute you want to read, and in the middle of the screen it'll just show one word, every second or every few seconds or every nanosecond, and so you could pace your reading, and it really focuses your reading. And I did that for a majority of the book, and I enjoyed that. That's just a feature of the Kindle app, the e-reader, and I enjoyed it. I recommend you check it out if you want to pace your reading at a certain amount. Okay, here we go. Bobby.
Yeah, I shared the title of the book there.
Share this.
Digital copy. Anybody wants to look at it, that's the title.
Put it up. Okay, cool. And yeah, here it is right here. That's the cover.
Any video about this on my channel, I have the link in the description.
Cool.
It's a long link.
Yeah. And I've interviewed the subject of this book twice on this channel. If you look down at the episodes, for sure. Okay. That's my experience with the book, just buying the book and how I bought it. I think that's all awesome. Okay, we got welcome to the shows here, actually. Wow. All the way from the UK. If you don't mind sharing, what city do you live in? I'm not even sure. I just know it's in London time zone. But thank you. Welcome to the show for being here.
Greenwich Mean Time.
Okay, so yeah, Greenwich Mean Time. Okay, so the book itself. Okay, now the book, I gotta say, Michael is he's a very good writer. He writes very professionally. His writing, correct grammar. I mean, it sounds like the most basic things, but for a book, it is important. So it is well written. Also, his voice as an author, it's written in first-person perspective, is very clear, entertaining, and well-paced. So overall, apart from the subject, the book is a very good. So I recommend it for that reason. The way the book is set up is a lot of it is just a chronological description of the events that Randy had at the property, and they're just pretty detailed. They include additional information from witnesses. There's a lot of photographs in the book as well. And a part of the book is also Mike's own perspective on the paranormal. So he gives some information about himself growing up, where he grew up, his ideas about the paranormal. And I saw that a big theme in the book was this internal struggle that Mike was having with believing that Bigfoot is a real flesh and blood animal, but also believing that Bigfoot might be more than a flesh and blood animal. In other words, he may be, as he calls it. So in his mind, he came into the story of Randy in Minnesota. He came into this Bigfoot story thinking that Bigfoot was mainly a flesh and blood animal, just like a deer or a rhinoceros or a gorilla. But because of the events, which he details in the book, he now thinks there's more to Bigfoot. And he's still struggling with his idea, but he is accepting to the idea that Bigfoot is paranormal. Let's see. Okay, now John is here. Thank you for being here, John. John is from Portugal. That I know for sure. And he says, Linda and Mindy say hello twice. Okay. Okay, yeah. Welcome to the show. It says it's 2:20 a.m. Yeah, 20 a.m. Thanks for being here.
That's about right.
Awake at 2:20.
8 o'clock. I'm like, 6. Yeah, 6 hours ahead. It's winter time.
Here.
5 o'clock in the summer. 5 hours in the summer.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I thought. That's the setup of the book. I think it's a good book. Cool. Let's see what else is Mindy saying. She says, I took a nap before the show so I could be at 20 p.m. So it's yeah, mid there. But thank you for taking the nap. I sure appreciate that. I was just reading this book all day on my tablet, basically. Well, okay, yeah, that's basically the main parts of the book. I do recommend it. I have not finished it all, but I will continue to read it. Now let's talk about some of the notes I made on the book itself. Okay, let's see, get my notes up. All right, so let's talk about the conclusions that Mike makes in the book. Okay. Well, first of all, some interesting things that Mike said in the book about Randy, the main witness. Randy's the person in Ohio, sorry, in Minnesota that sees all these Bigfoot. You know, Mike, having spent time at the property in Minnesota and having spent time with Randy, he does think that Randy is 100% honest. He does, though, however, say that perhaps Randy, at times, he makes a lot of speculations that don't have evidence, yet he believes those speculations as being true when there's really no evidence for it. But apart from that, you know, he has no complaints about Randy's character or anything about him. Okay, so at the conclusion, these are things that Mike believes about the property, and I'll stop after a few of them and get your input, Bobby, on each of these little conclusions.
Right.
Okay. The number one conclusion, I guess the biggest conclusion is that there are large ape-like creatures living at that property. Without a doubt, Mike believes they are there. You know, it's funny because that's not really the main that's not really the main tension of the book, this nonfiction book. The tension isn't, is Bigfoot real? Are there really Bigfoot? That's kind of blasé. That's of course true. Real issue is why are they doing these weird things, these woo things that don't make sense. So Mike also concludes that these Bigfoot, he thinks there's about half a dozen on the property. He believes they come in various sizes. He believes two of them are very enormous. Now, the tracks that have been found are 5-fingered tracks, and the length of them are 18 inches, which is the largest track, 12 inches, 15 inches, and also some 6-inch tracks. And I just looked it up. In the United States, where this case is taken, the average male foot is 10.5 inches long. So the average is 10.5. And here in the tracks found on his property, they go from 6 inches all the way to 18 inches. So that's pretty interesting. Let's talk about that, Bobby. What do you think about the fact that there could be 6 of them? And what do you think about the tracks? Do you think that's strong evidence? Could it be a human making the tracks or a device creating them
I think
artificially?
well, it's always a possibility that it's completely fake. That's always in the realm of possibility. But the fact that Randy finds them just in a section and then disappear and with no other footprints around them kind of speaks volumes in that particular regard. As far as the number, I know the SRA had the not SRA, but who's that? Doug Hijack said he saw him on the closed circuit feed in like a little bridge over River Kwai kind of formation across the camera. I think that's where Mike said he got the half a dozen number, if memory serves me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I turned off my camera just because I'm getting some lag. I'm just gonna see. I'm gonna see if this works.
Might work.
Okay, so you were
laggy.
saying, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the story about? Yeah, I'm definitely laggy. Can you repeat the story about the Doug Hijack and why you think this number thing is corroborated by Doug Hijack?
Yeah, he said, I think if memory serves me correctly, he said that Doug Hijack ran the closed circuit cameras through the woods and was watching them from his house remotely, like on an app. And he saw him walking in kind of a formation. I said bridge over River Kwai because that's how they walked across that bridge.
Oh.
Yeah, it's an old reference. But yeah, that's what he was. I think that's where they got the numbers from Doug Hijack's closed circuit.
And this was done where? This was done at Randy's property?
Because Doug Hijack had ran little IP cameras up and down through it, and he
Okay.
caught several. He
Okay,
caught several
cool.
on
Well, thank you
video.
for
He said,
clarifying that. Yeah,
and
that
it wasn't recording.
okay.
Conveniently not
Cool, cool,
recording.
cool. Yeah, that must be later in the book where I'm. That must be later in the book where I might have forgotten that. But thank you for throwing that in. Okay, so yeah, that's where
Yeah,
the six
it
number
was
comes
mentioned in
from.
passing
Yeah, as far as
whenever
the
we had Randy
tracks,
on.
you know, as far as the tracks, you know, I'd really love to just look at them, like look at the cast or cast of the tracks and compare them to others because the book just mentions that the footprints were seen, they were photographs, and casts were made, but it stops right there. There's no further analysis of the foot cast, and that's a pretty big piece of evidence. So I would. It's interesting that they're there, but I would love to see more work done specifically with the cast, the molds. Basically, what happens if I'm not mistaken, if you see a track of any animal, including a Bigfoot, you make there's this substance you can buy called plaster of Paris, which is a powder. You water to make a paste, a fine paste. You fill the track with the paste, and then the paste will dry. You lift up the paste gently and impression of the foot. Is that correct? As far as you know, Bobby?
I think so. I've seen it done, for like Bigfoot prints and some dinosaur things, I believe. I've always wondered how when he poured in, it didn't ruin it though. But I guess there's some structural integrity to a track. I've seen a lot of tracks in my life, and I guess they hold together pretty well. They're compacted with weight, so I guess that's how it goes in there. It doesn't, in my mind, it washes it all away, but I guess it doesn't because people always get plenty of it with the grass and everything, still stuck to the bottom.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, yeah, I've never actually done so.
I haven't either. I've seen it done on documentaries, and I've seen plenty of tracks from animals
Mhm.
just growing up and everything, and they look kind of like, I guess they look like tracks. Is what they look like, but they always have like the lines in the hands. Like if you see like a raccoon walking down a creek bank, you always see you always see his little wrinkles and his little paw prints, and they're compacted by weight, kind of like Play-Doh. When you make a Play-Doh mold.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds good. Let's see. Let's go back to some comments. We got.
Bigfoot
Here
on
we
the
go.
case.
Welcome to the show. Says it's possible that Bigfoot is a dimensional researcher investigating missing people cases. So maybe Bigfoot or Sasquatch is a crime scene investigator. That's interesting. I've never heard that interpretation. All right.
At this point, I
Interesting.
don't know what their purpose would be here
I
because
think
they're
that,
just here, kind of chilling. That makes more sense than anything, honestly.
yeah. I think it points to the fact that we know so little, we made so little progress with Bigfoot that this idea could be possible. We can't rule it out because we've such little progress. Bigfoot. Um, Here we go. Yeah, Mindy's saying that my camera and sound, no, that Bobby's camera and sound are clear and mine's are laggy. So yeah, I've switched off my camera. Hopefully that will save. Uh, I did just get a $3,500 gaming laptop that's going to be delivered next week. That should eliminate any problems I have. Also, I'll be playing all these new video gaming laptops on my new channel, Terrible Lizard. So if you go to youtube.com/terrible lizard, please subscribe and I'll start gaming there as soon as I get my gaming laptop. But yeah, let me know if I'm still laggy even without my video.
Yeah, it's
Angel Wing
still
says she's
just as
about
delayed.
done with her lunch break and she's going back to work. She wanted to say a quick hello. What did you say, Bobby? You said it was still lagging.
I said
What
you're
were
still
you saying?
got the you're still kind of delayed because I say things and I have to wait for your response. It takes like 10 seconds, and so I kind of take a breath and let you respond before I say anything else. Kind of adjusting to it, oddly enough.
Yeah, I'm experiencing the same thing from your end.
Hey, if you want to do
So,
a full
but
reboot, I'll sit
is
here
the
and look at the
audio
comments.
usable? Like, I guess the question is, yeah, I guess
I
that
can
might
run.
help.
I can run the show
Yeah,
for a
why not?
second. I
I'll
mean,
give it a try.
the audio is going to be
Uh,
usable though.
s- yeah, just adjust the lag and it's anticipated. As long as the audio is usable, then let's try that out.
As long as when you say something, you give me a second to answer, like maybe 5 or 6 seconds, then just kind of delay after that, and then we'll be fine.
Okay, perfect. Um, so back to the comments. Mindy says that plaster of Paris is viscous. Yeah, viscous and doesn't
Viscous.
sink in. Interesting. Viscous. Okay, so back to the book review. So we've covered those points. Could they be hoaxed by somebody, the larger ones? It's possible, but it would have to be someone that lives in the area. Because in the book, they keep talking about how it's really hard for someone to trespass in this area without them noticing.
And we've looked at the overhead footage of it all, and someone who wanted to come on Randy's place and do that would be very dedicated and have to use a lot of gas, unless they live right next to him.
Absolutely. Okay, the next in the conclusions are that these Bigfoot are ferocious. They decapitate animals like deer and birds. Um, that makes sense. I mean, they seem to need protein to survive, and there's a lot of deer there. So I don't know if you have about that, Bobby.
I heard the same stories about it that you did. That you found the kill sites and everything.
Okay. So yeah, they're ferocious, but they also say that the Sasquatch they don't seem to, although they snap into character, they don't seem to hurt any humans. They do scare humans. Whether that's on purpose or on accident, we don't know. Also, another conclusion is that the range in which these Bigfoot, presumably 6 Bigfoot, live in is a few square miles, where the food is very plentiful, and it is right next to a river, which that makes sense to me as far as a biologist.
It's always it's kind of weird that they have to eat. I guess they're a pretty good hunters since they can just no clip in and no clip out. But it's just weird how sophisticated they are as kind of a species, but yet they love peanut butter and they have to kill squirrels. Like that's a weird dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they don't seem to do very well, that's for sure. Here's a point by welcome to the show. I know this is a bit out there, but could a Sasquatch suit be retrofitted to a large primate then released in the wild? Interesting. So I think saying is that somebody puts a primate into a Bigfoot costume. That is out there. What's your interpretation is, Bobby?
The only problem with that is this is Minnesota and that's a gorilla, and they're not going to last very long. And one or two things are going to happen. A, it's going to freeze to death in about the first hour and a half because it's on the surface of it's on in the Arctic, 1 degree there, 24/7. Or option two, the more probably the most unfortunate one, someone's going to get their arms ripped off by a silverback in the Midwest, and that's not going to go over very well. Wild trees dropped off. Yeah, John P's laughing. Has anybody ever read that book, Summer of the Monkeys, about that train car from the circus that tipped over, and that kid that kid befriends him? It's like the crazy sequel, not the sequel, but like almost like Where the Red Fern Grows. Kids befriending orangutans in the middle of Arkansas, and then they get into that moonshine still and start drinking all that sour mash. Monkeys get all drunk. Yeah, but I can only see it happen in one or two ways. If a silverback gorilla is outfitted with the Bigfoot suit, and someone's getting their arm ripped off, or it's going to be a froze gorilla. Either way, the wolves are going to really enjoy the kill they find the next day. My God, guys, you're never going to believe this. There was there's footage that keeps going around, and I haven't seen it in a few years, and it just popped up again. It just popped up again this week. What do you say? Last New York was a loose cow in a city. Police had to shoot it. Of course it was. Of course the police shot it. God forbid they negotiate. Anyway, there's this footage of it was a gorilla in a cage, and I don't know what zoo it was in, but it surfaces every few years as Bigfoot footage, like seen in the Smoky Mountains or some shit like that, or Ozarks. Like, no, that's a gorilla. It's from 2002. I guess they shot the cow because it was loose. I remember the cow story. I vaguely do. Safe to say it wasn't a white cow. The police had to shoot it. I'll take a sip for that as I get banned from the internet. Let's see. Yeah, I'm letting Wild Trees reboot. I don't know what he's doing. Ad-libbing. Yeah, we've had cows get loose on the military base I work in, and they were able to catch it with, not that fast as far as vehicles we have readily available. They don't have a 4-wheeler or anything. They usually can get them up and tranquilize them. But I bet the New York City cow was starting to endanger civilians, so they had to bust a cap, kind of like Harambe. Rest in peace. Yeah, you can wrangle a cow, but maybe not in New York City. I think that may be like the silverback in the middle of Minnesota. Until it freezes to death, it's going to kill someone. And God forbid it hits a vegan, because then they'll be like, see, the irony is somebody that moved from their hometown to get away from all the people that eat meat, and then moved to New York City, and they get killed by a cow run down the street. That's called justice. Take that, soy boy. Again, I'm canceled. John P. Adventure says there's a video. Now I'm gonna watch. Now I'm gonna watch it. Just call the nearest person in New York City that can catch a cow. He's had to fly in from Iowa, the closest place. Maybe upstate. Still, you got to get through rush hour traffic. You got to pay the toll. Look at the time. Bada boom, bada bing. They get hungry. They got to stop and get a cannoli. By that time, the cow's killed. School trips. He's done gotten to St. Patrick's Cathedral. All hell's broke loose. Somebody thinks it's the cow from the Book of Revelations. They start having mass suicides. It's going to be cats and dogs. Mass hysteria, cats and dogs. Somebody thought of a marshmallow man. It'll all lead to a bitter end. You know what I'm saying? And cows are a dime a dozen. Speaking of that, I got a dinosaur on my cup. Speaking of things that are extinct, we got a video. Too bad I can't show it without no. Too bad I can't show it without Wild Trees, because I'm basically the guest. Yeah, I don't know if he knows he dropped off or not. I'm holding up my end of the deal though. Did I just say end of the dildo? God, this guy. I'm letting Wild Trees know. Just to let you know you dropped. I'm sure you did. Oh, I'm gonna watch it. You bet your ass. Let me. Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh, it's a Holstein too. Oh. Hell yeah. Cow's my new spirit animal. No. Gotta watch it again. Dude, that cow should try out for the Detroit Lions. I don't know that merited a killing. I think maybe well, I say that, but if you're the couple, you're like, what in the hell? I'm sitting here waiting for the bus. I got my magazine from the newsstand. I'm eating a gyro. All of a sudden, I get plowed by a Holstein that got loose by some cracker's farm. Yeah, I thought when it fell that it got shot. Said if it was in India, no one would be harmed. Don't shoot Papa. Yeah, let's pour one out for the New York Holstein. Pour some water out on my keyboard. Take a shot for the New York Holstein. And Wild Trees is back. He's gonna come back and not know what in the hell happened. Because what have you done to my channel?
Bobby, thanks for holding
Wild
it
Trees
down.
is back. Yeah, your channel went to hell and back. You're probably gonna lose some subscribers because things got weird. There was a dead cow. Somebody shot a gorilla. We don't know what happened.
Yeah, have you done to my baby?
Oh no. My boy. What have you done to my boy? You're still lagging. What the hell is going on over there?
I think it's my internet that's really bad, so I'm gonna try.
Yeah. Yeah, you can reboot your.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. If you keep talking, I might come in and out. I just think my home internet is messed up, so I'm gonna be in and out.
Oh yeah,
but the show must continue.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got it going on. We got videos and stuff here.
I'll be back.
This is great. What you got there? Welcome to the show. Also, side note for welcome to the show here, his logo. Everybody has that alien logo, so I'm confused. I'm like, are you the one sharing? Every time I see that, I think it's the same person. I guess you can copy paste. Let's see. Isn't there a 3D printer or scanner that can scan prints and drop the data into 3D printer, or am I getting a bit tricky? I don't think so. I think that you're right on. I think that they could probably do it. They can do it with anything else. You know, when people catch a fish now, no one keeps and kills fish anymore after they catch them. They take a picture of them, you give them the measurements, and send it to a taxidermist, and they send you a fish back in the mail. You turn the fish loose. Bada boom, bada bing. No one gets fish sticks. It's called vegan fishing. I just made that part up. But I did work at a tackle shop for a summer back home, and this one guy, he was from South Alabama. He came in, caught a real big fish out there, and was going to keep it. And then somebody told his sponsors and got his sponsors pulled because he kept a fish. I'm like, whoa, I'm probably going to be in jail if I find out the amount of fish I've kept. I mean, you can't make fish tacos with a piece of styrofoam. You know what I'm saying? What else we got here? Ron must know that. You would think, I guess I may watch too much Rick and Morty, but I would think that was something that already could be done is scan something. All I'm picturing is Rick Sanchez doing this. As Wild Trees gets robbed at his own house. Now you would think that they could, if it could be something like, you ever seen like a printer work when you put a document on it scans, you see the light go across with the I guess for lack of a better word, the shutter that takes the picture. You'd think you could do that to something in the wild. A track. I don't know. Lasers? We have lasers. We found exoplanets and spiral galaxy clusters. Yeah. Scan. Totally do a track. People just want to mess with plaster. They want to feel like it's the 50s again. Yeah, you can put a paint color and take a picture of your room at Home Depot and see what it looks like with your favorite lamp. There's no rules here. Yeah, scan caves.
Bigfoot, are you here?
You know the
show?
yeah, Bigfoot, quit doing it.
Give me a silence.
Any,
This is upsetting you.
anybody that's seen a Skinwalker Ranch, they had that
I
thing
really
that
don't
spins
know what to
around
do.
and shoots the lasers, and they painted and built like a digital model of the homestead. So yeah, they can do that with a track. They could just go whoop. Not to do a Bigfoot yelp. No pun intended there. Whoop. What if they did it in wood knocked at the end? Whoop. Yeah, they could totally do that. Government probably already has. There's probably a Bigfoot division in the black programs. The government where they have like 6 or 8. Wow, I don't know.
Hey
if
man,
Wild
I'm still
Trees
trying to
knows
figure all this stuff out.
Okay, so I don't know if Wild Trees knows he's still on there.
Yeah, I just noticed. All
Yeah,
my
just
electronic
unplug it
stuff
all.
is being weird, dude. Like every single thing I have is just, and yeah, it's a lot of weird stuff going on. All right, let's
Hey,
see.
Bigfoot, stop messing with
Okay,
us.
let's see if I could connect to this new internet thing.
Get Randy on. I'm disappointed that Randy's not here for real.
But
I really wanted to see him.
I mean, well, what's my lag look? Yeah. What's my lag like now? Is it better or is it worse or?
It did it. If I could see your camera, I could tell better, but it did the packet drop thing once or twice just now, but your audio did sound clearer when it wasn't.
Wait.
Look, I'm at work right now. Solving connection issues. That's what I was meant to do. You ever seen that video where the person took that laser pointer and shined it at the helicopter? They found him, arrested him. Apparently that's a felony. One of the big green ones you can buy off Amazon. People in house selling and use them. Yeah, they are. That's how they measure square feet, is with the laser pointers now. That way you don't get any you don't get any trumped up square footage. It's all official. It's registered in the computer when you do it. Like, oh, this house is 3,000 square feet, but they count like the crevices over here. I'm making that up. I don't know if that's true or not. Sounds good. It seems like I've heard it. I am lying. Hey, my flock is everywhere's here. So in the UK, if you shoot a laser pointer at a police officer, you get beaten with a stick because they don't have guns. Very rude. Very rude. What if you're trying to use the loo and you shoot a laser pointer at a police officer and don't want to pay for the loo? Very rude. Don't go to the loo. Wild Trees dropped off again. Hey, my flock is everywhere's here. Maybe we'll just send you the link and you can come on here and we'll talk about parrots and macaws. Mindy.
Okay,
Never tell y'all. Oh, Wild Tree's back. Scared me. He's loud.
What I've done now is I'm on an alternate internet connection. This is off my cell phone. I think maybe the internet was acting up as well as my laptop, but what does everything sound like now, Bobby? How's my response time? Do I sound clear?
Can you hear me right now? How quick did you hear that?
I'm still. I'll just tell you, I'm super laggy and everything sounds.
It's like, how quick did you hear that? Sounds like you're responding a little quicker. I don't know. You never know. That Governor Abbott really messing with the internet over there. He knows we're on to his big feet.
Hmm.
We got my lag foot. We're gonna rename this episode Lag Foot. That's the best. Why's my face red? I got too much caffeine. He dropped off again. Lagfoot is amazing. It's Lagfoot. Remember that old movie from the 80s or 70s about Bigfoots? Bigfoot's coming, gonna get you. Bigfoot's coming, so you better watch out. Change it to Lagfoot. Should put it on Facebook. Welcome to the Lagfoot Show. Oh, my little UFO thing showing now. Watch trees pop back in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Laggy Podcast, where we try to work
Lagfoot.
through technical difficulties live on Lagfoot.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what you got going on over there. That's kind of crazy that everything's screwing up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is about as good as it's going to get. So let's go back to the system where I'll talk. And how about we do that over thing? So when I'm done, say over, and then
yeah,
you can
that'll work.
And then you say over.
I was about to suggest it before you dropped off. Over.
Great minds think alike. Over.
Go ahead. Over.
Okay, let's go back to the notes. Over. Let's go back. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start. Where we were with the book is okay. They live in a range that's a few square miles big next to a river. That makes sense to me as a biologist because there's a lot of food there, and if you don't need to travel, if you don't need to expend energy, why would you? They also, another fact is that they leave objects and they want those objects to be found by humans. It's not sure whether these objects, isn't sure, Mike, if these objects are gifts or maybe they're neither. They also leave deer skulls in the woods. So the skull of a deer, lots of them. Actually, in the book, Michael was like, I'm afraid that some ranger might find all these skulls that Randy has on his front porch and think he's some kind of poacher because there's so many deer skulls. Now, Mike says that maybe the skulls are not, maybe it's not that scary. Maybe it's a sign of respect. But anyway, I just said a whole bunch of stuff. What do you think, Bobby? Over.
Yeah, the deer skulls were. I have discussed it before with Randy. When I used to hunt all the time, one of the places I went was a drop off for a local deer processor. So he would have all these deer carcasses. He would pull the meat off of them, and so he would have a truck bed full of these deer carcasses and take them. It was about 5 miles down the road from where it was. That's where I used to hunt at. And it's in the side of a field. It would just be a pile of it. And I know, and like it was just skulls. It looked like Terminator 2 when the monster or the robot would step on the skulls, like that many skulls and shit. It was cool because you take somebody out there, they always take one for a souvenir. But I don't know, other than that, why there would be that many, unless maybe there was a wolf problem. So it does seem like there's some kind of, like maybe the Bigfoot are still acting like we're working on the same, checks and balances system as the give and take system as the Native Americans. And like, why are you giving me a skull? We're going to do this. Where's the money? Over.
Okay, thank you for that information. In the skull thing. I don't know. Also, I'm also going to put in the link you can join. Sara said she wanted to join the conversation, so I'm putting the link in the comments. StreamYard.com/ and it's YPPKDXQ4J. But you have to say the word over after you talk if you're going to join. So I just put it in there. It should pop up soon. So if Sarah or anybody else want to join. Okay, let's go down the list some more. Let's see. Okay. Oh, sometimes they seem to have a temper tantrum. Sometimes. So in the book, sometimes the Bigfoot would like knock on the side of the house or throw rocks. So that seemed to be some kind of temper tantrum. Like maybe they were angry about something that Randy had done, or like straw. What do you think about temper tantrums, Bobby?
Okay, so I have something on that. Did you say over? Over? You said over.
I did. Over.
Okay. I talked to a guy named Zeus Platt, and he's going to be on my show coming up in the next few weeks. And we've also talked in Long Island Bigfoot. And I'll start with Long Island. He said that if he doesn't go to the woods every, I think he said 72 hours or so, like he starts getting that shit at his house. And he doesn't live in the woods. He lives in suburban. Like he'll get rocks thrown in his house. He'll get windows beaten. He'll, just a gambit. It's not hostile, but it's just like, hey, where you at, buddy? But on the same note, I talked to Zeus Platt. He's with I'm not going to say it's a Sasquatch Chronicles. He's been researching. He's from Colorado. And he said, he goes, don't gift him food. Don't try to vocalize. Don't wood knock. He said, just talk to him like Randy does. But he says, if you start gifting, you'll invite them in. And they'll expect you to keep giving you positive reinforcements. And if you don't, they freak out and do shit like that. So that's where I'm at with. I kind of think Randy may, he doesn't have the most hostile bunch, but I think he may have invited some of that if it is true, because that guy was pretty adamant. He goes, yeah, because I told him that Randy had that shit happen to his house, like hollering his name. He's got the handprints on his house, and they used the bathroom in his bed. That was weird, and ate all his ice cream. So he's either got Bigfoot or drunk college students. But either way, I think that the way that Long Island Bigfoot and Zeus Platt described it was a lot like that. Over.
Okay, that's an interesting point. Yeah, I am aware of that point. The point that if you start engaging with these creatures or any paranormal thing, that they will. That's kind of an invitation to your home. I remember in graduate school, I knew this scientist that I spent a lot of time with. We would go on road trips. One time, we took this crazy road trip from Texas to Arkansas looking for this mythical beetle called Amazonicus, because the female had a male characteristics, and we went down to this river called the Saline River in Arkansas from Texas. We took the school van. It was fucking awesome. We didn't find that beetle, and it was later disproven to be a mythical beetle that did not exist by another scientist. Anyway, I'm telling the story because this guy, I was familiar with the story that when he got into witchcraft and the occult, and he said he was having intense encounters, like he was being terrorized and grabbed by demons or whatever he thought they were, negative entities. But he also thought, and I've heard this before, that if you start practicing the occult or studying black magic, you will start experiencing black magic. So it's a similar idea that if you start messing with Bigfoot by leaving him gifts, you invite Bigfoot to come into your home. I really think that needs to be taken into consideration, because someone, because you might involve them and they may not want to be involved with that. So ideally, I would want to have a cat about this and see if my cat is okay with this kind of interaction. And if I get the go ahead, then I would start heavily studying Bigfoot. Over.
Oh yeah, and in the way Randy describes and the way I was talking to the Mr. Platt about it, about the evil that may come with that, and the way Randy described it, maybe it's not Bigfoot that you're inviting. Maybe since you've weakened the veil and offered a passive lethal resistance to something that may not be or maybe sinister, evil, or just mischievous. Maybe since you've opened that veil, that's what allows it. And it's not so much the Bigfoot thing, but it's Like if you don't keep a positive reinforcement on it, it's gonna be like, hey, what's up? You gave all this energy and now nothing. It's like the Bigfoot version of shadow people. However that particular, how they're like the first ones in, they're like the foot soldiers of the paranormal. So however that works, I think it probably works with Bigfoot too. Over.
All right, yeah, that's very interesting. Let me put this funny comment here. Sarah, I know you're backstage. I just want to finish this point, then I'll get you back in. Io Walk says, "Don't be afraid if you leave cookies out for Santa, and they're on the next morning." Over. Thank you, Io Walks. I'm dying over here. I'm dying of laughing. Okay, my point was
I've eaten plenty of Santa's cookies.
Okay. Oh, okay. This is what you. I wanted to comment on this. I'm just going to skip forward. Sarah, I'm going to get you in this point. Going forward in the book, Mike was talking about someone named Psychic Elizabeth. Now, I skipped ahead to the conclusion, so I don't know how Psychic Elizabeth comes into the story, but it seems to be that Elizabeth is a psychic. And this is what Psychic Elizabeth thinks about the Sasquatch on Randy's property. She thinks that they do not belong there. Their presence is unnatural. Their presence has triggered naturally embedded elemental spirits in the land to become hyperactive. And so that's, she also says, Elizabeth also says that these spirits, these nature spirits that are embedded in nature, they generally don't like humans because humans are destructive to nature. They don't like pollution. I mean, they cause pollution, they cause destruction. They don't respect nature. So here's another story that relates to this. Okay, so Mike had the story in the book, but I thought it was a really fascinating paranormal story, and I'll see how it relates to what happens at Randy. Here's the story. Okay, so there was this woman named Julia Butterfly Hill, an associate of the environmental group called Earth First. Now, Julia Butterfly Hill, she lived 180 feet up in a 200-foot and 1,000-year-old redwood tree that the group had affectionately named Luna in Northern California. Now, she lived in this redwood tree for an astounding 738 days, from December 1997 to 1999, to protect it from being cut down. During the 2-year period in which she never touched the ground, this spirited act, her early 20s, experienced both admiration and derision from around the world. Now, she had a paranormal experience with the tree. Now, this is what happened to her. So, after a few months, what happened was a ferocious 18-hour-long storm with winds up to 90 miles per hour hit the tree. And then she was hanging on to dear life, trying not to get blown away by the storm. And she was perched about 20 stories of ground. She experienced a spiritual epiphany and a realization that she had been bonding on an extreme thing, the redwood tree. Later, after screaming, this is what she screamed. She screamed, "Luna!" I heard the voice of the tree speaking to her in a clear voice in her head. It told her, "Julia, look around you at the other trees. What are they doing? They're swaying in the wind. It's the ones that try to be strong and stand tall that break and fall over. So don't try and be strong right now. Just sway with me. Just hang on, and I promise I won't let you fall." Anyway, Julia eventually survived the storm. The tree also survived. It was not cut down by a logging company, which started this whole thing. Now, Elizabeth Psychic says that she doesn't really think it was the tree that was talking to her. She thinks it was an elemental. And so this is what Elizabeth said, Psychic Elizabeth. She said, it was the tree talking to Julia. Trees, she said, are on such a unique and different frequency. When they talk to each other, even if we were, it would never even begin to resemble anything that we could decipher. What Psychic Elizabeth thought was more likely was that the Earth elemental was talking to Julia through Luna. pretending to actually be the tree because that was what would appeal to her in the most. Elementals, Elizabeth said, usually have a great disdain for humans because of how so many of us treat the planet. But if there was ever to be that they would take liking to, it would be someone like Julia Butterfly Hill. Anyway, that's the story. So there's this idea that elementals are real and that they're being stirred up by the Bigfoot, that the Bigfoot are unnatural. What do you think about that, Bobby? Oh,
I guess it's as good as explanation as any. Just like it's about the same as the veil I was talking about earlier. Like the path of least resistance is getting is leading right there, kind of like when you break a hole in a beaver dam and all the water goes in that one way. I don't know. I haven't really talked about anybody about elementals. Doesn't shock me. Maybe like little, lack of a better word, like little compies of the paranormal world. They just kind of flood in. It's like like the shadow people, the foot soldiers of that world. First ones in. Yeah, just this switching the concept over to everything being kind of paranormal based is not only fun, but it's a different concept. So it's everything I'm thinking out is like the first time I've thought it, especially with the elementals. Over.
interesting. Well, look, a thought just occurred to me. I think I'm getting more lag. So, Sarah, I'm going to get you in, but my computer. So let's try getting you in anyway, Sarah.
So get Sarah in, and we can chat her up.
She's going to talk first.
Based.
We're going to get Sarah in. We'll get her to say the first thing, and then she'll say over, and then I'm not sure how we're going to decide who talks next. That's kind of complicated. How should we decide who talks next, Bobby? Over.
I think you just delegate who talks next. You be the host. About the only way you can do it. Over.
Okay, I like that idea. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to get Sarah in. Sarah is going to say something, okay? And then she's going to say over. And then after she's done, I'm going to talk. And then I'm going to ask a specific person. So unless I ask you the question, please do not respond confused. And then after someone else talks, I will always talk. I know that's complicated, but I hope everybody understands. Over.
Over. Understood. Over.
Okay, here comes Sarah. Sarah's about to come in. Over.
I'm here. Over.
Thank you, Sarah. Sarah, what would you like to say? Do you have a comment or question you want to post to everybody? Over.
I think your show is based as hell. Over.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that very much. That's really cool. Well, okay, here's what I'm going to do, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and keep reading down the list. So I'm going to read a couple more things in the book that are interesting. And then I will have Sarah say something if you want to, Sarah. You don't have to, but something about what I'm about to say. So here's what I'm going to read on my notes. So I'm talking about this book about Bigfoot in Minnesota. Now let's see. The next thing on my notes was that okay, Bigfoot seems to take peanut butter. It's able to remove the lids, like unscrew the lids of the peanut butter jar and clean out the peanut butter jar, put the lids back on. And that's pretty interesting. And then it's also able to arrange all the lids. So Sarah, I don't know if you saw this, but Bigfoot, whenever Randy leaves a peanut butter jar in a tree, Bigfoot will unscrew it, clean out the inside completely clean, like it's through a dishwasher. And sometimes the lids of the jars will have different colors, like red, blue, green. And then later, Bigfoot will arrange them in a similar color, kind of like a little kid, playing with its primary colors. What are your thoughts on this peanut butter behavior, Sarah? Over.
Well, I think that's quite strange, actually. Well, personally, I don't think peanut butter is all that great. Maybe almond butter would be better, honestly, but whatever. But that's besides the point. Mostly what I think is that's pretty interesting that somebody thought of the idea to feed Bigfoot peanut butter to begin with. Over.
Okay, well, that's pretty interesting. Now, I like this idea. Let's talk about butters. Let's talk about nut butters, everybody. Now, Sarah pointed out that peanut butter is maybe not the best butter out there, but there are other butters out there. There's almond butter, cashew butter. Um, look, honestly, I know it sounds funny, but I've said this to Randy before. I've said it seems that one of the clearest ways that we can communicate with Bigfoot is through food because it likes food. So I was like, what if we have so many different kinds of foods out there. We have like fast food. We have chicken Alfredo. We have tacos. We have ramen. We have bubble gum. I mean, I wonder if that's a way to just communicate with Bigfoot, just to share part of our culture, just by instead of just giving it peanut butter, just giving it like different types of foods, all kinds of foods. You see what it likes. I'm sure Bigfoot would like. I mean, I would like that if someone were just cooking for me and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to give you all these different homemade foods. Let's see if you like them." I would be happy with that. What do you guys think about this idea? I'll have Bobby take this one first. Over.
That is a good idea. I think peanut butter may be what everybody goes with just because they can manipulate it with the lid and it's non-perishable. The problem I see with introducing other foods is many other animals like other foods as well. So you're going to find out a peanut butter likes crunchy crab rolls as well. Or not peanut. You're going to find out if a raccoon likes crunchy crab rolls. You put it out there. So you're going to have to implement some kind of safeguard, kind of like you would a bear. Because if you just go out there and set like a Dave's double with some chili and a baked potato, somebody's going to eat them. You would almost have to do the thing where Michael Quast was talking about. He had, I don't know if you read, it was in the book, but he had the Spam inside the cooler, the Yeti. I don't know how many of you've seen a Yeti cooler, but they have a snap on it. You can't get into them. You have to have opposable thumbs. You have to be made in the image of God to get into these things. But you can't just get. But he had the Spam in there, and someone had opened the Spam when he turned around, opened the cooler, ate the Spam, and put the lid back on the Spam. So I think you have to have something like that going on if you want to. If you could almost prove that it was something like that happened. That it was the entity like Bigfoot that happened if it did eat. Like, oh look, today we have street tacos for you. I'm gonna put it. See what I'm saying? Like you have to bring in a whole nother infrastructure and almost be more trustworthy of them than just putting peanut butter on a nail. Over.
Okay, that's a good point, Bobby. That is a good point. If you just start leaving, meatball marinara sauce out there, meatballs and spaghetti, something will get. But I think you gave us the answer. The answer is just put it in a cooler with a simple lock. I mean, that's it. That'll keep you. But that's a good point. Okay, now Sarah, what do you think about this idea? You were talking about, does Bigfoot have allergies, food allergies? What do you think about giving Bigfoot all these different kind of foods? And also, John P. Adventures wants to know, what is the healthiest butter we could eat as far as nut butters? Over.
As far as nut butters, that depends on what you're not allergic to, but allergic to, and then taste. Therefore, thusly, preference, and also not death. Also, I think. Well, okay. You know how in some states, like they have the Bigfoot hunt, like you could shoot a Bigfoot and kill it. Then other states are like, nah, protect the Bigfoot or some shit and stuff. Excuse me. And but my point is like if say you fed Bigfoot, right? Anything doesn't matter, and they had a food allergy and you actually killed one, would you be held accountable for that? Over.
Okay, that's a really good point. Yeah, I guess that goes to the ethics of dealing with an animal. That's a really good point that most people wouldn't think about. I'll tell you right now. Okay, let me explain this. Okay, like technically, if I'm working as a biologist, technically, honestly, if I'm following the rule of science, any experiment I do with Bigfoot, I should be getting it approved by IACUC. Ayakuk is an organization that deals with animals, with vertebrate animals when a scientist does research. Now, it's very, very detailed. When you deal with Ayakuk, as a scientist, I would have to submit my plan to other scientists. There would have to be a veterinarian on the team that approves my plan, a veterinarian. There would also have to be someone from the public, like a normal person from the public, like Bobby, that would have to approve my idea for ethics. And that would be a legitimate question. People would be like, I don't know if you should be gifting regular random foods because you might kill it. But here's the crazy place we're at. Nobody fucking believes Bigfoot is real, so everybody's going to laugh at you if you try to get it Ayakuk approved. If I try to go get it approved, they're going to be laugh me out. The veterinarian's going to be like, stop wasting my time. I'm going to euthanize you. You're a waste of space. And, if I tell a regular person, like Bobby, he would probably be down with the Ayakuk. He'd be down with the sickness. He'd be like, yeah, I'll review it. But that's just a good point. That's a good point. I would have to take that into consideration, and I don't know, I'd have to be careful on what kind of food I make. Maybe I would have to learn about primates and what kind of foods are primates most allergic to. Or maybe I could cook something that it already eats. Like if it's already eating, like let's say deer, maybe I could just season some deer really nice, cook up a really good backstrap of deer. Since it likes deer, give it some venison jerky, just something different, mix it up. But that's a really good point. So let me keep reading. And then let's continue talking about Bigfoot. Okay, now let's see. Okay, so another point that's being made here is vocalizations. So Mike believes that another fact is that these creatures are incredibly good at vocalizations. They're very good at mimicking birds and people. Actually, Randy heard it sound like a woman yell out his name. So that's really interesting. I mean, it just shows that they have a very good vocal range. That's kind of creepy too, that it can mimic human voices, because it could trick somebody if it wanted to. It could sound like a little child lost in the woods, and it could, trick a human. What do you think are the implications about Bigfoot being able to mimic anything, including human voices? And I'll go with Bobby on this one. Over.
All right, yeah. Remember the David Parker with the owls. That's one of the things. It's almost to the level of the tree TPs with me, because it seems like you can say anything sounds like a Bigfoot. I didn't say over yet, but I'm forming a thought here. But it seems like it's one of those get out of jail free cards. Like, oh, I heard 7 birds fly over. There's usually just one, so it must be a Bigfoot. I think you got to be really cautious with that. I think what Randy heard was his name outside his door. That's different than hearing owls in the woods. So I think it's not objective. It's the one where it has to be. God Almighty, I get subjective and objective mixed up. It really depends on what it is. Over. See what I'm saying? I'm still talking.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Bobby. Yeah, so in some cases, yeah, if it just sounds like a natural animal, it's really easy to say it's just mimicking a natural animal, but when really it could just be a natural animal. But if it's mimicking a human voice, that's more complicated. That's a really good point. Now I'm going to bounce this to Sara. Now, Sara, I think you're familiar with animals mimicking human speech, because birds can mimic human speech. Here's a question. Do birds, when they mimic human speech, do they ever do it to trick a person? Like, are they ever trying to trick a person with their human voice? Or is it more simple than that? Over.
Well, that's an interesting question there. It depends, okay? Because some of my birds, they can, okay, specifically, we had this bird. She was a rose-breasted cockatoo, and she sneezed like my mother did. She sounded just like her, and I would be confused if she was home or not. But I know that, not her just doing it all the time because it's the sound she made. I'd literally ask, I'd be like, hey, Mom, are you here? When I would spend the night at her house, because I didn't know if she was at work or not, right? And then the birds would all be quiet, right? Or just doing the normal bird sounds. And the bird, Grace Helen, would then start making sneezing sounds like my mom, like purposely getting me to go over there, right? And so I'd go over there, and literally my mom's not there. And then I learned that, then I figured out, it's just you sneezing and trying to get me over here to come see you, right? Like, I get that. That's cute. As far as like other birds in here, A lot of them don't sound like we do. Like they make sounds and they say the words like we do, but they don't sound exactly like us. So, if Bigfoot were to, if I were to be out in the wilderness and I'm alone and I'm not mentally ill and all that fun stuff, right? And I hear some woman or man's voice that I don't recognize, and I can't tell where it's coming from, and it may sound familiar to me, I'm going to be very concerned, right? Like, that's weird, right? So, to be honest with you, anybody who could mimic anybody's voice, it's kind of weird, right? Like, it happens. Over.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting point. Yeah, it's interesting. So your birds do. There seems to be some evidence that your birds do they do mimic your mother's sneeze, and the reason they do it is to get your attention because they know that your attention will be there, which is interesting. Now, presumably, a Bigfoot creature would be smarter than a bird, and maybe it has a different vocal range. So you also mentioned that birds, they can mimic human sounds, human voices, but you could tell it's a bird. It doesn't have the same audio qualities as a human. Those are really good points. Now I'm going to go to some comments real fast. Mindy tells us about butters. She says, as far as peanuts versus walnuts, peanuts have lower handling time, i.e. easier to open, but they're less caloric value than the walnuts. Interesting. Okay, well, I think she's talking about the actual nuts, not the butters. Because, the peanuts are actually easier to open than a walnut, but they have less value. So I guess less caloric value. So I guess it would be, I know maybe walnut butter is more expensive. I'm sure it is more expensive than peanut, but maybe it would help the Bigfoot more because it would have more calories. Okay, let's keep reading comments, try to see something interesting. Bobby, very funny. He said, maybe we should leave an EpiPen next to all the Bigfoot gifting sites, just in case, you never know. Let's see. John P says he just had some dried fruits over. And okay, Mindy, this is very interesting, talking about the differences in nuts. She says, so squirrels are willing to travel farther from safety of their central tree for walnuts than squirrels. Okay, so it sounds like a squirrel's willing to make the risk for the walnuts because it has more calories. Oh, and then Mindy also says that walnuts, I actually love walnuts. Walnuts have the highest level of omega-3s, which is science thinks it's healthy for humans and animals to have omega-3s. Whenever I eat nuts, I refer to them as the flesh of trees. I say I'm eating some tree flesh right now. It's super yummy. Let's see. Okay, so let me continue reading some of the notes I have. Okay, here's a big point that me and Bobby were talking about. So the stick structures. Okay, so Bigfoot have been reported to do this, especially in Randy's property, but they make structures out of sticks. So they make like a teepee, they make like an A, a Y, an arrow. Now, Mike does say he thinks a lot of these are just natural. It's just the wind knocking down trees and that just a natural, it's not anything weird. Mike does say in the book he thinks some of them are extraordinary. Now, Bobby, you had something to say about these. You spent time in the woods. Tell me what you think about these tree structures that we'll see, Bobby.
I think by the way, I think your lag is getting better. Not here or there, but I think that on the same note as the blurry pictures, I think if we just ignore the tree teepees altogether, the Bigfoot community would look a lot better. I mean, maybe they do it. Maybe it's a thing that they do, and they're like, they're like, there's a teepee right there. It clearly means follow us. We'll take you to Mars or some shit. But I've spent a lot of time if you go up a mountain, anybody that lives near a mountain, there's that section of the mountain at the bottom and the top where there's nobody lives because it's too rocky. Those things are a dime a dozen out through there, especially in the hardwood where you can see a ways. They're everywhere. The tree teepees are everywhere. I've got my 8-year-old convinced that every tree teepee is a Bigfoot bedding ground. So she tells me every tree teepee she sees, and it really ruins the trip because I'm like, I'm just kidding. It's not really a Bigfoot because they're everywhere. But I mean, even if they are a Bigfoot sign, I think maybe that and the blurry picture take completely off the table. blank canvas Bigfoot tree TPs are 99% have to be fake. Not fake, but invalid. Now, if Randy says the one that he can put a side of beef and an open can of peanut butter inside of one, nothing bothers it but a Bigfoot. That's something, but there's just so many of them. They're everywhere. I probably got one in my backyard. I've got 4 trees. Over.
Okay, that's a really good point. I think you bring up a good point about. I think the point that I was thinking about that you made is the progress that we can make on the Bigfoot subject, and also conversely, the lack of progress that we can make with the Bigfoot subject. So, I think the point you bring up is that, like, look, what can we do with these teepees? Okay, we have the teepees. Some people think they're significant. Some people think they're not. But like, what can we get out of these teepees? You know, like really, like what kind of information can we get out of them? I think we either need to look deeper and analyze them closer, or we need to move on, like Bobby said, just focus our energy somewhere else. Now, I want to bounce it now to Sara. Now, going back to animal behavior, Sara, do you know of any birds or other animals that make structures out of twigs? I know nests are the obvious one, right? But what about a teepee or like strange symbols like a Y or a V? Do birds or other animals make use of twigs or tree limbs like this? Over.
Well, I'm not really aware of too many animals that go out there and put symbols in the ground for any reason at all. Maybe scratching a post in one spot all the time. That's maybe a symbol, I guess. I really don't know. But as far as I'm trying to remember all the questions you asked at once. What was the other question you asked? Over.
Yeah, it was like, do birds or other animals that you know of make teepee structures or like symbols like a Y or a V? Over.
Okay, right. Okay, yeah, that's what it was. Sorry. Okay, I've had many animals in my life: snakes, lizards, mice, rats, possum. But I've had everything but a dog, okay? And I'm gonna tell you, in all the animals I've ever seen in my life, no one's ever built a structure, done anything like that. No bird has ever done that. They've taken apart structures. All animals will take apart a structure. But as far as like building one other than like a nest, I don't really see that. But I mean, I'm not a full-on animal expert. I mean, I did work as a vet tech for a while, so I do have some other behaviors, not experts, but experience, right? But I do have to I think here that I would be quite surprised if if Bigfoot was out there making these structures, because I mean, are they living in them? There's really no point to them. Do they serve anything? Are they really good shelter for any reason? Or is it just like Bigfoot's out there like, hey guys, it's like instead of us going to play football, they're out there going to build structures because that's their fun time. I really don't know, but I would imagine that a lot of drunk teenagers would be out there and go, hey, let's do this because we can, and we're strong people in the thing. And that's how I view that, in my opinion. Over.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for that input. A lot to think about there. Now, Bobby says, not going to interrupt what he was saying in a private chat, but what if Randy were to patrol his property every few days and cut down all the teepees and see if they return? That'd be about the only way to validate. That is an interesting experiment.
Yeah.
Now, if I had to predict how Randy might think, he might object to it, maybe, because he would say he wouldn't want that to seem disrespectful. He would be worried about how the destruction of the removal of the teepees might be viewed. I'm guessing that's what he might say, one of his objections, because it does seem like these animals are intelligent. They do have a temperament. So I do feel like sometimes you do have to be careful how you act, because they may view something you think. It's almost like when you go to another culture, you go to another country, you may not, like I think in Japan, it's considered rude if you don't finish all your food, you're allowed to slurp your food. It shows that you enjoy it. If you leave some of your food, it's considered rude. It's considered like, wait, maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. Well, there's some culture, because I think there's one culture where like it's rude if you eat all your food, because if you eat all your food, that's an indication that you're still hungry and that you should have given you more food. So in one culture, if you leave some food there, then that's good. They're like, okay, I fed him enough. I'm not sure which culture is which. All I'm saying is that Bigfoot seems to have a culture, and it's interesting. What you do may upset Bigfoot, or it may make him happy. The other thing is, I think Mindy said that bowerbirds do. Bowerbirds, I'm not sure if that's that they make teepees, but if you could tell us more about the bowerbird, do they make teepees? But okay, let's keep moving on our next. Unless Bobby, you have something to say about the idea of removing the teepees and what if that might upset Bigfoot culturally. What do you think about that, Bobby? Over.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of, an alternative would be, how Randy can ask him, hey guys, can you do this? Maybe to show something. If he could ask him just to go nuts on a TP, like set like property tape, like in 100 by 100 area, like, hey guys, will you make like all the TPs? Like this is like art class for TPs over here. Bring in, and if that's what they did, and that's the TPs they made overnight, that's what TP looks like. But right now, all the ones I've seen, like not necessarily on Randy's page, but just on the Bigfoot pages and shit I follow, they all look like the same thing you see, and like just a limb fell after a storm. So if he could get that to be done like in the course of like a weekend, no storm, no nothing, maybe be a little bit better proof than just finding them. I hate the TP. I hate the blurry picture. I want to go back to maybe the best thing that I've heard happen to this Bigfoot investigation in the last 39 years I've been alive is they may be portal travelers. That because I was ready to dismiss it until I heard about that. Quite honestly, I love the fact, but just bare bones, bare metal with the Bigfoot thing. Over.
Okay, that's interesting. What that makes me think about is that, like with Bigfoot and with UFOs, I'm like, look, guys, we got to get some new ideas in here. We've been doing the same old, and it has not worked. It's not going to work. Trail cams, wood knocks, going out in the woods, blurry photographs. We've done this already. It's not working.
The red circles around a picture.
Yeah, the red circles around the picture.
I hate the red circles.
I like the way you're thinking. I like the way you're thinking that, you're designing that experiment. The experiment is really well designed. You're saying basically that we could, since Randy says he can communicate with Bigfoot, then the idea is like, okay, why don't you, just get one section, close it off with, tape or something, crime scene tape, and ask the Bigfoot, hey man, just so I'll give you some, walnut peanut butter if you just build a lot of teepees in this area within the next week. That'd be a pretty cool way to validate that. I do like that idea, Bobby. So let's continue down the list. Okay, so now it says here. Oh, okay. One other thing, Bobby, Mindy posted a link to the bowerbird and how it builds colorful homes. I don't know if you want to pull that up, and I could share the screen. So we can look at these designs that the bowerbird does. If you want to do that, that'd be cool. If not, it's fine.
Yeah, let me.
Okay, the next point is
link doesn't work. I'll just bring up an image.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, the next thing here is that the Bigfoot do not seem to like cameras, so they avoid cameras, and also they don't like mirrors, which is very interesting. But before we move on, I think Bobby's got those images, so let me go ahead and pull them up. I'll just keep talking. So I'm going to add this to the stream, and this is that bowerbird that Mindy found, which does seem to construct things. Okay, can you zoom in on that one to the right, Bobby? Just zoom in the whole screen. Let's take a closer look at that one. Okay, so we're looking at a bowerbird, bowerbird making a structure.
Except cookies.
Okay. Okay, it's very colorful. It's got like a lot of like blue, I guess, feathers or garbage it found. Sorry, bowerbird, that's not garbage. Those are treasures.
That's bottle caps, man. That's like the bird from Secret of Nim. Sparklies. Gotta have the sparklies.
Very cool.
Space movie over.
Oh yeah. Mrs. Briz. Miss Briz.
So yeah, that's interesting. So some birds do make structures, and they're made to attract a mate. Okay. Well, I wonder what that could tell us. I mean, I'm just saying this could be a possible reason why they built TVs. If TVs are real, is it to attract a mate? I don't know, because it seems to be that it's a pretty stable population of about 6. So I'm not sure if that would fit up. Just some ideas to think about. Here's another one. Okay, that one's pretty big.
All that stuff.
And it's also
The
got a
bottle
bunch of.
cap.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, damn, that's a nice one.
Sidebar, what if we took a flock of
Interesting.
bowerbirds and put them on the Pacific garbage island and just let them go nuts? Have it cleaned up by Tuesday.
Ooh. They'd probably die from disease.
The bowerbirds will take over the planet. Unlimited resources. Bowerbird heaven.
But they're not the only ones.
Good idea.
Over.
Interesting. I'm going to move on to another subject. So this is something that Welcome to the Show has talked about before. And so Welcome to the Show says, I've said it before, I'd like to see thermal imaging used in a Sasquatch research, which is a really good point. That's actually a very good point, because here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. Here's what I think about thermal imaging. If Bigfoot are around you, should be a good way to get it, or if they can monitor their temperature, or unless they can turn off from. What makes a thermal imaging processor different than an infrared camera? It does shoot out waves, or bounces back. So it is actually into the environment, which Bigfoot could pick up on. But I wonder if someone in the chat, wink, wink, Mindy, or Welcome to the Show, well, how does the thermal imager work? What is it doing? How is it processing the image? Is it shooting out something? The other thing I'm thinking about thermal imaging is, let's say Bigfoot did avoid the thermal imaging. Well, would a good way to, repel Bigfoot away from you? Let's say you were scared of Bigfoot, like Mike Rowe was. What was his name? Fred, what's his name? From subarctic Alaska Sasquatch. His name is Fred Roll, I think. Yeah, Fred Roll. He had an encounter where he was terrified by the Bigfoot. I wonder if they avoid a thermal camera. What if you just point thermal cameras all around you? Would they just avoid it because they wouldn't want to be seen? But I mean, overall, that's a good point about the thermal cameras. I don't hear much talk about thermal imaging. What about you, Bobby? What is your experience, Bobby, with using thermal cameras, or what do you think about this idea? Over.
It probably has the same effect as IR. It shoots out the beam. I would assume that they probably just put it right in the camera category. I think it'd probably work to see like a leg go behind a tree. But they would definitely no clip out once that stuff started. That's my scientific opinion. Over.
Okay, so it sounds like you're agreeing with me that it would be a good, perhaps it would be a good Bigfoot deterrent. Like, you point this thermal image thing, you're like, get away from me. You put the thermal, and they would no clip out. That's interesting. That's what I was
they
thinking.
don't want that.
Okay, now here's a description about how the infrared cameras work. Okay, so Mindy says, from a Google search, all objects emit infrared energy. That's true. Yeah, everything emits infrared energy, known as a heat signature. An infrared camera, also known as a thermal imager, detects and measures the infrared energy of objects. Okay, now she continues. She says, the camera converts the infrared data into an electronic image that shows the apparent surface temperature of the object being measured. So that's interesting, because in that case, it seems like an inverse of an infrared camera, in a way, not exactly, but An infrared camera shoots out infrared rays, they bounce back, and it makes an image. The infrared camera is just collecting infrared data that is already given off by things. So maybe it is different, Bobby. Maybe it's not shooting. It sounds like it's more of a collector than a shooter. But either way, I mean, Bigfoot don't like regular cameras anyway, you know, not just infrared cameras that shoot out something. But thank you so much for that, Mindy.
I think you'd have to hide it if you had it.
Yeah, hiding it. Exactly. That sounds like a really good use of it. Yeah, and then welcome to the show says a thermal imaging collects data, just like what I was saying. It does not project any data. Yeah, I mean, here's the other thing. If I were to go to Randy's property or somewhere that had Bigfoot, and I was gonna do some data collection, I would talk to Bigfoot like Randy does. Now, Randy apparently feels embarrassed. He does because he's getting advice. So he goes out to the woods. He's like, "Hey, Bigfoot, I'm here. I don't mean any harm. I'm just minding my own business. I respect you." And then I would do something similar. I'd be like, "Look, I'm a biologist. I'm interested in you as a scientist. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to exploit you. I want to help you. I am going to use this infrared camera right now. I just want to get a little bit of evidence. I think I could use it to help your case." But yeah, that is very interesting about the infrared camera. I wonder why it hasn't been used. Okay. Oh, and then Mindy also said that there are other structures that are the bowerbird, there's other pictures of structures that they look a lot more like. So there is teepees. And the reason they make them is to attract a mate. So just saying, maybe it's some kind of courtship behavior. At least it is in birds. I'm not sure if it would be in Bigfoot. Okay, so another note that Mike makes is that Bigfoot are physical. They eat food, they breathe, they shed their hair, they make waste, and they leave footprints. Okay, now he goes into, like I said, the book, a big struggle in the book for Mike was dealing with the paranormal or weird aspect of Bigfoot versus the flesh and blood. So here are some observations in the conclusions of the book that Mike makes, but these are in the woo-woo category. These are the weird things. Okay, number one, he says red glowing eyes. Now, red glowing eyes have been observed in a lot of paranormal things, a lot of evil paranormal things, but he does say it could just be eye shine. Maybe people are mistaking red glowing eyes for eye shine. What do you think about that, Bobby? Over.
If it wasn't for the fact people see them without the light. Like alligators have red eyes, don't they? Over.
Okay, that's true. Okay, so you're saying that we need to make a distinction between eye shine does not happen unless there's something to reflect, like a flash.
I feel like eye shine is the easy answer, but people see them without the eye shine.
Okay, thank you for that. Now let's see. Now here we go. Melinda says that she agrees. Mindy says seems like thermal imaging would be a perfect way to search for Bigfoot. Great. Okay, let's move on then from the red eyes. What about battery draining? So he says that a lot of times batteries are drained completely of energy. Mike noticed that as well. I've heard, I interviewed a guy, I think his name was Mike Goodrow, who studied ghosts on Black Lotus Live. And he says that he thinks that like ghosts and paranormal things, they drain the energy from batteries because they're using that energy to manifest themselves. I guess I'll go to Sara now for this one. What do you think? Have you heard about this, about paranormal things draining batteries? Over.
Yes, I have. Not just, well, yeah, I mean, like nearly every type of investigation that you see, whether it be on TV, YouTube, or the one you did in your own home, it seems like if there's really some type of entity or something there, battery drain is one of the most common things, along with batteries exploding as well. I think it takes a tremendous amount of energy to exist in any type of form. I mean, we think of all the energy that we expel, right, in our form as it is, right, and what we need to continue to be, and anything that's like basically as we understand it or don't understand it, maybe just energy as it is. We need all kinds of energy, whether it be from batteries or electricity. Maybe that's why houses, or buildings flicker lights too, because they're really trying to drain on the power to, become more, stronger, or just trying to get to the power they need to, manifest themselves and stuff like that too. Because I mean, if you think about it, how much energy, like I said, it takes to maintain us. What is it going to take to maintain it? A Bigfoot, a 6 foot owl. I don't know, right? Like it's the thing to think about that kind of stuff. So yes, I've heard about the batteries exploding, and I think it's because, or drains and exploding, because I really believe that they're trying to, become, or let's see, maybe not become, maybe it's more like join into our dimension or something. I really don't know, something like that. Over.
It may be an unintended byproduct that happens whenever something in that realm comes over here, and we just started using them in the last 50 years.
Agreed. Over.
All right, very interesting. Now let's see. How about let's see. What time is it? 9:45. Okay, let's Bobby's got to take off in a little bit, so we'll talk. We'll have one more topic with Bobby, and then we could just wrap this show up. It's been about an hour and a half. I still have a lot of notes, so I do want to save some of my notes for Mike, the actual author of the book. So that'd be good. So let me look at my notes. Pick one more thing to end on. Let's see. As far as woo-woo stuff. Okay, so Mike says that perhaps the reason why they avoid cameras is because they learned that humans have guns, and when they point a gun, that causes harm. So Mike is like, perhaps Bigfoot have learned that whenever a human points something at you, whether it's a camera or a gun, it's something that should be avoided. That sounds like it could be possible. And then the other thing I'll touch on is that, because this is something that your guest talked about, Bobby, on the last Bigfoot episode he did. And this is a topic that was about people observe Bigfoot tracks going into an area, and then they abruptly end. And so your guest said, well, I don't think that's weird. I think they were just backtracking their steps. So I'll bounce it to Bobby. Bobby, do you think it's possible that the tracks ending is not a paranormal thing? That these animals, the reason why people see footprints in the snow that abruptly end is because they're just backtracking and going up a tree or something? What do you think about that idea, Bobby?
Well, anything's possible. I had to think of the guest you were talking about. I was like, who did I have on to talk about Bigfoot since Randy? But yeah, I guess I could make this like my closing argument, because I had like a point that I'm always happy to share about the whole situation. But the backtracking, I mean, they still got to curve and go somewhere else. He would still see where it started and diverted. I don't know. I think that I'm more optimistic about them being dimensional travelers than I am about them being an ape that hides with what's the word for the hair follicle that Mindy's going to flip out as I'm bringing this crap up again.
Well, there's the cortex and there's the medulla.
Yeah, the medulla.
I'm not sure which one is the inside and which is the outside. The
medulla. Mindy was like causing self-harm to herself whenever that got started. but she flipped out. I was loving it. It's not the medulla. Sound like Bobby Boucher. Sound like Bobby Boucher's teacher. The medulla oblongata. And but yeah, I think the here's my closing argument. The Bigfoot topic and the paranormal topic, and where the dog man and the little people, it's all more optimistic to me, seeing as how we've heard 15 different people say the same thing about as many different topics. Like I just said, dog man, little people, all use the same, lack of a better word, no clipping technology. I feel like it's more optimistic than something's hiding in the bushes and you can't see it because their skin reflects. Over.
Okay, pretty interesting points. Yeah, the backtracking thing. I mean, I've heard of that. I mean, animals do weird things with footprints. Like, I mean, I know a cat. I've seen videos of cats who like walk in the snow and they could just perfectly, go back on the same track. They're not.
Yeah, a regular animal, a bobcat, a deer, or anything else, does do that, but they also leave bodies and piles of bobcat and regular animal poop, and they appear in pictures. So I'm like, quit trying to shoehorn Bigfoot into that square hole when maybe there's something else we don't know about. I wish science could just investigate that aspect, even if there's no evidence, and you just kind of go on anecdotal until you find out how to get evidence. Like you said, with your eyes and ears, record it with that at first. Over.
Interesting. Here's Mindy does say, okay, so your guest I was referring to was DA. What was his last name? DA
Roberts. DA Roberts.
That's what I thought. Okay, so DA Roberts, you can watch that episode on Bobby's channel. He was saying that DA Roberts is an ex-military personnel. Ex-law enforcement. But he has a friend who was in the military, and he said his friend could disappear super easily. That's how Bigfoot could do it. And I thought that was a really good point that DA said. Maybe even people that are experienced in the woods, that doesn't necessarily mean you're experienced in fighting a war in the woods, or your life depending on you remaining hidden in the woods. Whereas Bigfoot, it does. I think his life does depend on being hidden in the woods. So I think the point that DA made was very interesting. It's like, let's be very careful about what we think is weird, because some of these things we're just not used to them. We're not used to being able to hide like a ninja in the woods, but that doesn't mean it's weird. There are techniques out there, and there are humans. And so I thought that was a good point to think about. And look, I got to say, some of those things since I have scientists, some of those things I do think are not weird. I'm like, yeah, I've seen that before. Or I know about that. To me, it's not that strange. It's also like I don't want to sound like I'm trying to pump myself up here, but I don't get intimidated by a lot of these paranormal entities like I think most people do, because I've been around animals that can kill me already. Like I've been around venomous snakes. I've been around a stampede of not wild, but there was like a stampede of cows coming toward me in the mountains. I've been in places where I could have fallen off and died instantly. I've driven up steep mountains. I've been in storms. I've been lost in the woods. I've had all these encounters. Were very intense to me at the time. At the time, I got stuck in quicksand one time. I've had all these encounters with wildlife and nature where I guess it's hardened me up a little bit. And so to me, a lot of paranormal activity is an extreme encounter. And to me, I would still freak out, but maybe not as much as a normal person. And that's just to say that you got to put things in context, like Bigfoot, maybe a lot of the things he does, they seem weird, but maybe they have a regular explanation. I think that was a really good point. Now, we have someone new I haven't seen in the regular Jacko. I sure appreciate it. Jacko says batteries being drained is paranormal. Perhaps the draining of batteries is because they are there, not intelligent life that drains it. So yeah, just ask me what causes batteries to drain. I know there's natural things that causes batteries to drain. I know that when they explode, that could be heat. I think extreme heat can cause a battery to swell and explode. But what kind of things cause a draining in battery power, other than using battery? I know if you use the battery, it'll drain the battery.
Yeah, just being
and Bobby, you can take off any time. I don't want to keep you longer.
All right, yeah, I'll seize the opportunity.
Yeah, just being used. Bobby.
Yeah, just thanks for having me on. I'll come back and I got two shows this week.
Yeah,
well, take care, Bobby. Over.
We'll fast. Bobby says if you want to look more. If you want to see more, go to daroberts.net and go to bobbydizzle.com to see more about Bobby. But Sarah, we could continue comments if you want. Thank you, Bobby.
Yeah,
over.
I'm here.
Thanks, Wild Trees. Sorry your internet was bad today.
Yes, that's true. But look, everybody, thank you for sticking around. I know I have laggy internet, but look, I am getting a gaming PC next week. It's a beast of a computer. I do have a new camera as well. So I'm upgrading a lot of technical stuff. So I do appreciate you guys sticking around through this. Okay, let's see. I'm just reading through some comments here, Sarah. Let's see. Okay, so
No worries,
where was I? So Jacko, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Okay, now here we go. Welcome to the show, says John P. My second sighting was a bronze-colored cube with a circular insignia on the sides at approximately 1,000 meters above me. A circular insignia on the sides, a bronze-colored cube. Lasted about 5 seconds, then accelerated out of view at several hundred miles per hour. Okay, that's intense. That's a UFO sighting. That's weird. Thank you for sharing that. Welcome to the show. Let's see. Okay, and they continue describing the UFO sighting. Okay, so John P says, did you feel anything? Was it hot or electrical as far as the UFO? And then Mindy says, how large was the cube? And then so Welcome to the Show says that he felt massive static. I'm not sure if you felt the static or you heard the static, but yeah, he says there was massive static. Okay, and Jocko is an old friend of Sara. Okay, cool. Thank you for being here, Jocko. Jocko. Okay, now, okay, I've heard about this. Jocko says there's a bridge here in Scotland where dogs jump over to their deaths. It's happened multiple times. Local folklore says it trickster fairies calling them. I've heard about this. Now, I read an article a long time ago. Once again, we did an episode on this on Black Lotus Live. There's a playlist on this channel where you could watch all those episodes of Black Lotus Productions and Black Lotus Live. When I did a little bit of research on that topic of the bridge, some people are saying that that is true what you said, but it could also be that dogs are smelling like wild critters, like different kinds of weasels or muskrats or rats, and that's what's making them go over. But that is a very interesting case.
I have a question about that. Over.
Go ahead. Yeah. What's
okay.
your question?
Okay. Thank you. Over. Okay. So what happened was this is what I don't understand about the bridge, right? There's I'm sure there's more than just the one bridge in Scotland. Like there's got to be, right? Why is it that one bridge that would have the scent of a weasel and or whatever that would cause the dogs to go, oh, this is the bridge to jump off of because the smell of the weasel, but then walk by another bridge that a weasel could physically be on and they'd be like, and good day and move on. That's what I understand. Like that to me doesn't make much sense, really. You know, there's got to be something more to it. Like they hear or they see something that's like, you know, very attractive to a dog, right? I mean, are cats jumping off the bridge too? Because they would chase, you know, those kind of things as well. That's things I don't understand about that whole thing. Over.
Yeah, you make some good points. Okay, so yeah, there are a lot of bridge over Scotland, I'm sure. Citation needed. But and there's also, I'm sure, animals underneath those bridges. What could be special about this bridge? Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's an abnormally large population of rodents under this bridge than others. Maybe it's the structure of the bridge. Maybe the way the bridge is formed, or how underneath the bridge, maybe the way the wind passes through it, it picks up more smell than other bridges. I don't have any evidence for any of this, but I'm saying those are just some things off the top of my head. But that is a good question. I do like how you're bringing that up. Going back to the comments, Welcome to the Show says, Mindy, I'd estimate the size of a large refrigerator is how big the cube UFO was. Very strange. Bobby says, check out bobbydizzle.com. Yeah, and everybody, you could also check out Sarah's YouTube page. It's called My Flock is Everywhere. Is that correct, Sara? How can people find your YouTube page? I mean,
yeah,
your YouTube channel.
My Flock is Everywhere. In fact, I'm supposed to have a show tonight, but I haven't got a hold of my guest. But yes, My Flock is Everywhere. It's a show. I do have a show tonight at 10 o'clock my time, which is California time, and the birds are now yelling. I'm sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, well, thank you for that information, Sara. So now let's see. John P says he had a sighting, but he's not sure what it was. It was in my door to the garden. I came to smoke in the summer. It was orange. It came right on top from in front. Had time to record it with a cell phone. Interesting. And go ahead.
I was going to say, a few months back, I went out and I decided that I was going to do some, recording of the sky because, well, I had a feeling I should go do it, and I did. And I happened to see this, like, I don't know, some type of orb thing. I have no idea what it is. But point being is, like, I couldn't see with my eyes. I could only see it on the camera. And at the time, my phone was about to blow up, so I was like holding together with hopes and prayers and my fingers, because the battery was going to explode. But anyways, the point being, I was ordering the Big Dipper as well. So, I don't know what it was that I saw or why I felt so, drawn to go to the area I was at. 'Cause it's not even a real safe area, but I was there and, compelled to do this. So then, like, there's, this orb there or whatever the heck it is, right? And I couldn't stay in this position forever, but, I wondered, what is it and why and that kind of stuff. But, I wonder if, like, something similar, like, with, like, like Bigfoot stuff, right? I wonder if, like, you see them more under, like, the Big Dipper too, or any type of supernatural events. Like, is it more popular for them to be around under the Big Dipper?
That's a really
Over.
interesting. Thank you. That's an interesting point. Like, are there markers or correlations between Bigfoots, UFOs, and one of the things you said is, could they be seen underneath certain constellations? Well, what that reminds me of is, I did, once again, I'm referencing another episode I did. So there's an episode I did on this channel. It was about a paper written by a French scientist named Jacques Vallée. The name of the episode was top 5 reasons why UFOs are not extraterrestrial. In that paper, Dr. Jacques Vallée, he did some analysis and he found some things that are patterns in in UFO sightings. Like, one of them was, like, what time you're most likely to see a UFO. I think it might have been like 3 a.m. But anyway, I don't remember all those details. If you look at that paper or you look at that video, I go over that. But that is interesting. So yeah.
That just ship the 3 a.m. stuff, because they always say that paranormal stuff also happens most often at 3 a.m. Itself. Like, it's like the witching hour or something. Over.
Yeah, exactly. So there are some patterns out there, and that's interesting to find those patterns, because they could probably help with the puzzle of paranormal things. John says, once again, he says his UFO moved like a satellite. He said he got outside and he was so pumped with his cell phone, but he only recorded a black sky. Interesting. Okay, let's see. Trying to catch up. Yeah, Jocko says exactly. It's over one specific bridge. That's a good point. Why are the dogs jumping over that? Okay, now welcome to the show says, once you've seen a UFO at close quarters, I agree, you instantly become a believer and it stays with you. I personally found the cube encounter very frightening. Now, the static, what was up with the static? Welcome to the show. Did you hear the static or did you feel the static? I mean, can you describe more about the static? That is very interesting. Okay, going down the comments. He says also his dogs were very spooked. That's what I like about having a cat. Like, I feel like the cat, like, look, I'll be honest with you. I love my little Nebula, my cat. She's not the brightest cat out there, okay? She's not very bright. I've seen smarter cats out there, but she still has her animal instincts, and she still can hear better and smell better and see better than I can. So I got to think, if something weird is going on, maybe she'll pick up on it before I would. What I do sometimes is for fun is I'll play weird paranormal sounds for her to see how she reacts. Like, for instance, talking about Bigfoot, there's these recordings that were done of apparently Bigfoot talking. It's called the Sierra Sounds, and it sounds like samurai chatter. Some people say it sounds like a human trying to imitate Japanese talking without knowing the Japanese language. But I like to play those kind of sounds around my cat just to see what happens. See if she perks up or freaks out. So far, nothing really, no interesting results there. Let's see. Now, welcome to the show says he thinks the UFO sensed his anxiety. Jocko says, is that Paula squawking in the background, Sarah?
No, it's not Paulo. It's either Lefty or Yoda or both. They're in the kitchen, so my cousin just got home to finish cooking dinner or something.
Okay, Paulo. I'm sorry, Paulo is the name of the bird.
Yeah,
don't want to misgender or misname any birds. That's for sure.
He asleep. He won't know.
John P says he felt fear as well when he saw the UFO. Mindy says that's a pretty big, welcome to the show, the refrigerator-sized UFO. Yeah, welcome to the show says he got big goosebumps. John says the cube seemed dangerous. Okay, now Scotty says maybe the dogs just think the bridge is just a tall step and they jump thinking it's a porch. bad explanation. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's another thing it could be. Like maybe the design of the bridge optically, like the eyes are being, the dogs are being tricked, their vision is being tricked, and they think, they don't know it's a heavy drop off. You know, maybe they think it's just a little step. I think that was in the article as well, but that's a good explanation. Okay, and here we go.
That would imply that every dog is retarded.
Well, like I said, it could just be a trick. Like it could be like I don't know, like I'm trying to describe it like in a person, like
Well,
you and
then,
I.
okay, then here's a better way of saying it. Do blind dogs jump off the bridge as well?
Okay, I see what you're saying there. Do blind drop out the bridge? Okay, yeah, you're getting rid of the vision thing. Huh? Okay, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. Hmm. Let me marinate on that one. This bridge always has a lot of debates. And, you know, whenever anybody talks about the bridge, there's a lot of juicy things to dig into that. So I'm going to think about that. Okay, so but going back to this UFO that welcome to the show, Saad. He says he felt a static. My hairs were standing on end. Not sure if it was an effect of the craft or human nature, like being in a cage with an alligator. Okay, so yeah, his hairs were sticking on end. That's pretty intense. Okay, then Mindy says, we had a small earthquake here in Charlotte a few years ago, and my cat hid in the kitchen cabinet, and he never does that. I couldn't feel the earthquake, but that's what it was. So yeah, cats can pick up things.
Well,
And
earthquakes are interesting. I live in California, so I know about earthquakes. Over.
so what can you tell us about earthquakes, and what's the experience like of being? I've never been in an earthquake. What can you tell us about that experience?
Well, I can tell you many things. Okay, there's I don't know if you guys know of L.A. County. Yeah, I'm sure you have. It's a horrible place. I mean, a great place to live if you're weirdos. Okay, they had a really big earthquake in the 90s, like 95 or something like that. I forget exactly when. But it was the Northridge earthquake, right? It was a huge one. Buildings toppled, parking structures fell. It was, it was pretty bad, right? Like now, at the time that I was living in Temecula, so the earthquake was so strong that our house, the second story, was shaking really bad, and we're like, an hour to, not an hour, excuse me, like 3 hours away or something like that from the epicenter, right? And we felt it all the way out in Temecula. And Temecula is close to the San Diego border, right? So quite a bit of distance. That's how powerful the earthquake was. Now we had a 2-story house, right? And it shook back and forth. And our neighbor's pool, the water was going in and out of the pool, right? That's how that was like the worst or the strongest earthquake I've ever been in, right? And I wasn't scared. I didn't care. It was just like my mom woke me up for no reason, in my opinion. But the point being, for as strong as we felt it, like I can't even imagine how it was, at the center of it, right? But from my experience, animals at my house, right? Now, when people say that they heard the earthquake before it came, it's a real thing. It does sound like a train. I remember being in the same house downstairs one time, and I was sitting on the floor, and the floor is concrete, right? And I was sitting there, and it was quiet. And all of a sudden, I heard like a train coming. There's no trains at all in Temecula. There's just not. So I automatically knew that it was an earthquake, right? And then boom, it hits. So it does make a sound of a train. Now, animals. I have seen my birds flip out before, and my cats too. A lot of the animals, not the snakes so much, but the birds and the cats mainly. Sometimes we'll freak out with the earthquakes, and then sometimes they won't even care that they're happening. So I really don't know what to say about that kind of stuff, because maybe they're all used to it in California. I really don't know. But there's been other times where because earthquakes too, they have like a some of them feel like you're on an ocean with waves. Some of them have really violent shaking, and but it seems like doesn't really matter on the strength of an earthquake so much, in my opinion. Animals will either react to it or they won't, and they don't seem to react to it all the time. So whenever I find people saying that, oh, my cat always tells me when an earthquake's going to hit, I always find that interesting, because I've had like umpteen cats, umpteen birds, and all kinds of other animals, and only a fraction of the time do they ever really react to an earthquake. Now, if they're dead asleep like my birds, and an earthquake hits and they fall off their perch because they're not expecting it, right? That's a whole different thing. They'll get upset and scream and go, what the heck, right? But overall, I mean, I've never seen a consistency of any animal reacting to earthquakes, in my opinion. Over.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for that. That's interesting. I'm sure there's research out there on animals and earthquake detection. That'd be interesting to dig deeper into it. I mean, earthquakes are interesting as far as well. I mean, I'd love to do an episode just on earthquakes alone. Earthquakes and volcanoes. The Earth just opening up. Also, I have an update, so I'm going to turn my camera on again because I think maybe it's better.
Ooh.
So the lag is not that bad. So Bobby said that he just noticed that he was pumping out 1080p video, and so he thinks that maybe the reason why my system was slow was because he was like pumping out a high resolution, and maybe that's true because I don't seem to have any lag. So we can stop saying over. But I died laughing. I died laughing. I died laughing when everybody in the room was saying over. That was so cute and funny. But it looks like the lag is completely gone now. So it was all Bobby. It's all Bobby's fault.
Shame on Bobby.
Also, I have a new camera too. Maybe that was why this camera right here is also 1080p. So maybe that was too many P's. It was way too many P's, and it's just the computer could not handle it.
Right.
Okay. So we're back. Let's see what the comments are saying. Okay, now let's see. So Jocko says, I think Scotty makes a good point. Could be an optical illusion that only dogs fall over. So yeah, talking about the optical illusion. Yeah, and everybody's saying I'm looking better. Cool.
But
Also,
what would be an optical illusion that would only affect dogs?
Yeah, so the optical illusion would only affect dogs. Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah,
how many other animals? How many other animals go on that bridge, though? I mean, like people don't usually walk. Cats. Maybe that's a popular dog walking thing. Maybe that's why maybe other animals fall off, just nobody notices it as much. People notice dogs because they're walking the dogs. They love the dog. They're like,
when they go collect the animals that have jumped off, that they would see other animals down there. Like,
that's true. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely deserves its own episode. I think that's a good topic. I could use my Microsoft Flight Simulator to fly over that area and look at the bridge. I always love flying over areas. Also, I want to remind everybody real quickly, please subscribe to my new gaming channel. I'm just going to be playing video games on here. I think I'll still play video games on this channel every now and then, but this new channel is going to be almost all gameplay if you like that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna play a lot of dinosaur video games specifically. That's why it's called Terrible Lizard. Yeah, but please, there's no videos there now, but please go to youtube.com/Terrible Lizard and subscribe to that channel. Hopefully next week I'll start streaming some video games. Some of the video games I'm going to stream one of them is called Path of Titans. Path of Titans is a video game where the dinosaurs are supposed to be realistic. It's a survival game. It takes place in the time of dinosaurs. I'm so excited to play. I'll actually be playing with Mindy and her son Andrew. So we're going to make a little dinosaur clan and try to survive in the Mesozoic era. I'm also going to play another game, a new game that's still in beta, actually, called Prehistoric Kingdom. It's like a Jurassic Park simulator. You build your own dinosaur park, but it's like a lot more detailed. So that's another video game. Just a bunch of other video games. So please subscribe to Terrible Lizard, and you'll see some more content. So Scotty B says, Jocko, my dog always jumped on my porch and it was 3 steps up. Okay, so he jumped on the porch. Okay, now, welcome to the show. It says, it's well documented that animals can predict earthquakes. I've read articles about ancient Indian civilizations using elephants to predict natural phenomenon. Interesting.
Well, I've seen a thing where there's this one of those earthquake/tsunami things. I think maybe after one of those Japanese earthquakes or something. People are out there on their vacation and stuff like that. And I remember hearing about this little girl that was on a young elephant, right? And the elephant started, sensing that doom was coming or something, and brought the girl inland quickly, and then literally saved her life and stuff. So there's stuff to it. I know they do, but I don't know. Guess all my animals were like, yeah, you don't worry about it. I ain't gonna worry about it, right? But animals do things like that.
It's interesting, like you said, also, but you also made the interesting point that maybe they are sensing the earthquake, but they're just used to it, or they just don't care. They're like, whatever. That's a good point
Yeah.
too. So yeah, Mindy also says that elephants can communicate very long distances through the ground. Makes sense that they could detect an earthquake. Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah, elephants have a really great sensing capabilities. They can sense the environment very well. I did not know that it was long distances through the ground. Let's see. John P says 6349. Terrible lizard. No, it's just Terrible Lizard, if that's what you're referring to. There's other channels out there that are like Terrible Lizard. But I got mine is just yeah, youtube.com. I'll put it up again. You could also go it this way. It's youtube.com/@ terrible. It's not really showing up in searches because it doesn't have any videos, I think.
Well, I don't know.
but
I
if-
clicked the link you sent, and it just
Yeah.
said error. So I was like, okay. There we go. Yep. Now I got
which
it.
link? The link to oh, okay.
Nope. The
So
second
try
link you just
this,
dropped.
youtube.com. I'm sorry, say that again.
The second link you dropped is perfect. It took you right to your channel.
Okay. The first one you said wasn't working?
Yeah, I couldn't get it to work, so you dropped it again. Went straight to your channel. I got it. I subbed. I'm there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so everybody
You're
try this out. Okay, yeah, everybody's saying that my first link was incorrect. I'm sorry, guys. I must have misspelled something or did something wrong. So forget everything I just said. Go to youtube.com/@ terrible lizard for some gaming content. I mean, right now, all I have up there is 2 playlists. One of them is just some music I like from the 90s. It's a playlist I've made of 90s rock music. A lot of Tool, some Bush, no doubt, Dave Matthews Band. And I also have a one tiny Which one do you like, Sarah?
I like pretty much everything you just listed there is based. You're based, and I like it.
Oh, thank you.
welcome.
And I have another playlist called. I'm sorry, what was that, Sarah?
I just said good playlist.
Oh, thank you. And then I have another playlist on there, and it just says cool short science videos. I only have one video in there, but there's this video I saw about the animals in Fukushima. So these are animals that have been living for decades in a radioactive zone. And there's an American scientist that have been studying all the animals like spiders and insects, and it's really fascinating the results that they're finding in that area. So I recommend that video. That's in the playlist as well. So yeah, now everybody's saying it works. Bobby says, sorry for ruining the podcast. No, it's okay. We made it work. I'm used to things going wrong. Sometimes when
Right.
I'm in the field, when I'm in the woods with a bunch of other scientists helping me, if something goes wrong and I can't figure it out, we may end up dying. So I never give up in a tough situation. I mean, I always just keep pushing forward. And I like being challenged by difficult situations because a lot of times it's life or death, and you got to keep your cool and you got to keep moving forward. And then Scotty says, "Damn you, Bobby." And then John P says, "No worries, Bobby. We learned for next time." So we got John, who's like all chill and zen, namaste, and then we got Scotty, the rage of Scotty, the Wisconsin gardening rage that we hear about. We always hear that Wisconsin gardeners are rageful, and here we have Scotty holding up that stereotype. That stereotype is true.
Right?
I'm just joking. Okay. Let's catch up on comments. Let's see.
Sorry.
Jocko says
Funny.
my father is a minister. When I was 8, I asked him the big question: why no dinosaurs in the Bible? Oh, that's a good question. Why don't I don't? Okay, and okay, let's see. Okay, I will say something funny happened to me yesterday. Yesterday I was in Target looking for dinosaur toys, Jurassic Park toys, and I found some good ones. But anyway, I went into the big city. Okay, so I live next to Houston, and I went to my old neighborhood. So I was like right in the middle, like the belly of the beast. A lot of people, a lot of crazies there. I mean, there's a lot of people in this this place in Houston. I live in a more suburban area. Anyway, I was in Target looking for my dinosaur toys, and this guy just comes up to me and he just starts talking to me. And he gives me a piece of paper. And at first, I usually don't take paper from strangers because they're trying to sell me something. But then I was like, my mind was thinking really fast. I was looking at this Tyrannosaurus Rex. Then I'm looking at the stranger giving me paper. But I realized he was a religious guy and he wasn't trying to sell me anything. So I took the paper. And then he was like a young guy, kind of muscular, probably in his 30s. And he just started talking to me about Jesus. And he was like, talking really fast, and I was like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And one of the things he said was like, Jesus hates evil. He hates evil. Isn't that a good thing? Don't you want your creator to hate evil? And that was the question. I was like, this is what I told him, and this is true. I'm not trying to offend anybody here, okay? This is an honest question, and this is an honest thing I told this guy. I said, it's interesting you mentioned evil and God hating evil, because I said, over the weekend, I was visiting my friend in San Antonio. We had a great weekend, but my friend and I started reading Ezekiel, the book of Ezekiel in the Old Testament of the Bible. The book of Ezekiel is fascinating. It's basically a very detailed UFO encounter. This guy is talking to a UFO. He sees a UFO. It's fucking crazy. But one of the things that this UFO is telling him in the voice of God, I'm not sure if it's God exactly, but it's definitely God's message. God's message is anger. He's so angry with the Jewish people. He's very anti-Semitic. He says, I don't like that these people, I'm not sure if they were Jewish. I'm pretty sure they were Jewish, but he's like, I don't like that they're worshiping other gods. I don't like that they have these idols. Anyway, in Ezekiel, God is like, I'm going to kill all these children. I'm killing these kids. He said, I don't care. I'm killing the children. And so I told the guy that was talking to me, I was like, look, I just read Ezekiel over the weekend, and God wants to kill a lot of children. And I was like, I'm struggling with this thing where God hates evil, because to me, killing children sounds evil. And so why is God killing children? And if he hates evil, but he's killing children, which is evil. And then the guy basically to me, and he was like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know what you're talking about, but pornography is bad. Pornography will take you straight to hell. And then shortly thereafter, he left me alone. Anyway, thoughts, Sarah? What are your thoughts on this encounter I had with a Christian?
Well, okay. That's interesting. Now, a few things here. One, show me where in any of the Bible here that the devil or Lucifer himself has done any murdering, because it's always like, hey, I don't think a dude is a good dude, or he doesn't really love you enough or something, and then God's the one that goes, hey, I'm going to do all the punishing, the non-punishing testing here. And then the dude gets like all his family and everything wiped out. Like, what did he do to deserve that? Because some other entity said, hey, to another entity going, hey, the thing you made in your image that you don't like because you're the actual enemy of God or something, like the kind of sounds like he messed up and then they got mad at us because he didn't do it right or something. So it kind of makes you wonder, what is evil anyways? It's all perceptions.
I mean, it's true. I mean, look, if you look at Noah, the story of Noah, he basically killed almost everybody. It was a mass extinction event. He just did it because he was unhappy. I'm not making this up. This is the Old Testament. This is just Bible. I'm just reading the Old Testament. Ezekiel, I'm not sure what book Noah's flood is in, but it sounds like there was a lot of killing being done back then. Now, I've heard some people say like that's the old God. So are we led to believe that there's a redemption arc for God?
Or are you just going on vacation? Here we are now. Well, yeah. I mean, what even is God?
Well, in the Christian Bible, which I'm referring to, God is basically the creator of the earth. Well, look, here's the thing. In the Christian Bible, God is an extraterrestrial. It's right there. He's an extraterrestrial. That makes us created by extraterrestrials. That means that Jesus is a hybrid between an extraterrestrial and a human. Mm-hmm. Look, guys, I'm not trying to offend anybody. This is literally what's in the Bible. God apparently created the earth. Okay, so if he created the earth, that means he's not from the earth. That means he's an extraterrestrial. That doesn't mean he looks like an alien with a gray head. It just means he's not from Earth. He's an extraterrestrial because he made Earth. So he came from somewhere outside of the Earth. Now, some comments that are just funny. Somebody said, welcome to the show, said, damn, ruined that guy's day. Yeah, that guy, the look on his face was like, whoa, that's not where I expected this to go. It was very funny. He was like, whoa, he's like, I don't know about Ezekiel. I was like, my man, you gotta read Ezekiel, my man. It's a hell of a book. Okay, Jocko says the Gospel of Enoch. That's an interesting read. Let's see. Jocko says, good point, Sarah. Evil is just a difference of opinion. That's interesting. Look, I was still marinating on that when you were talking. That's kind of a deep thing. So, Sarah, I'm sorry. Can you tell me that again for the audience as well? Tell me about how, your idea that evil is a difference of opinion or subjective, if you could, please.
Well, simply put, like you said, God wiping out children because children, are bad or something. That does sound pretty evil, right? Like, what did a child do to deserve that? And also, if he calls all of us his children, then that would mean all of us would be then evil and need to be wiped out or something, right? And it's like, that sounds pretty, evil to me, right? But here's for example, right? Like, somebody had sent me something in the Dropbox once, right? It was a bunch of images, and then one of the images happened to be some type of private information, and all I did was send it back to them and said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to delete any of these kind of things I find in here, or what? And they took it as I was trying to dox them, which wasn't, because not my intent nor any of that, right? Because you sent me a thing. If you sent it to anybody else, you have personal information in here. I'm just trying to warn you, and what else do you want me to do? And they took it as I was doing that, as I was some evil person somehow, right? And then they, pancake blocked me and shit over me and shit like that. And then we kind of, kissed and made up later when she realized that that wasn't my intent, nor where she came up with any of that, for some other personal story that had nothing to do with me, right? But therefore, she just assumed that I was being awful, right? And that wasn't the case at all, because you sent me a thing. I didn't send you a thing. I didn't even ask for you. You said you were going to. And then this is your response when I do this. It's like, good and evil is very subjective to a person's experience. Like, I do believe that, murdering people is wrong, but then but one of the cases that it's okay to do it, there's exceptions for that rule as well, right? So it's all subjective regardless of what you want to believe, right? Like, you think it's justified that the murderer gets killed on death row, right? Instead of, life in prison, right? Like, difference of opinion. What is right? What is wrong? Does that person's life still have value? I don't know. Me neither. And then, what do you do, right? And what, can people be, redeemed at all? Like, can they be? I don't know. So it's all subjective, right? It's whatever the masses say overall is wrong, therefore is wrong, whether it is or not, because overwhelming majority says a thing, That's how I feel.
Yeah. Okay. I get your point. Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. Once
Right,
again,
I'm more of a fence setter because that's why I'm more of a fence setter on these things, because like everybody's got their opinion, everybody's supposed to be valid and heard and all that kind of thing, right? You can't say everybody's right or wrong. It was prime example, experts, right? On a murder trial, somebody has done a thing, the forensic says they did it, and then you get another expert says, my forensic says they didn't do it, and I did exactly the same thing. It's like, well, then what the heck, right? Either is the science wrong or you just on different sides because of money. Because what is right or wrong, honestly?
I got you. That's interesting. Yeah. All I can say about Ezekiel is that when I read Ezekiel, the way that this angel was talking, it sounded very human-like. It sounded like a person that was just angry, and they were just jealous. The angel says specifically why. He is not very mysterious. He's like, look, I'm going to kill the children as a punishment because these guys are worshiping other idols. They have idols. And I mean, that's pretty clear. So when I put it into context, like murdering someone, if you're a god because they have another idol, I mean, just on the top of it, that sounds pretty unambiguously evil. But I will admit, I'm not a religious scholar. So I have not read very deeply into it, and it could be deeper meaning there. That's why I told that guy, because I was like, you're talking to me about Jesus. I was hoping he could explain it to me. but he didn't seem to even know what I was talking about.
No, because he's not expert. He's just on a mission to recruit.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, I've talked to Mormons. I've had one time I was in college and I had my door open, and these two Mormon guys came up, and I was just watching a movie. We all just sat around watching the movie, and I had a long conversation with them. I mean, I'm saying their job is to recruit as well, and I was very pleased with their answers. I asked them a lot of things. One of the things I asked them
I
was
was
like,
raised
I just
Mormon.
don't feel anything. You were raised Mormon, yeah. I mean, I asked these guys, I was like, look, one of the problems I have with religion is a personal problem. I just don't feel anything in my heart. Like when I go to a church, I go to churches, and I've never felt anything. And then they told me, like I said, they were
I
like,
felt
look,
bored.
was that? Yeah, you felt bored. They told me, they gave me a passage to read. They're like, here, read this passage. That'll help you. That's specifically made for you. So anyway, that's the kind of people I like. I mean, once again, I don't have anything against religion. I really don't. I just have a lot of questions, and I just would like them answered by somebody that knows.
I don't. I just don't like anything that people like cram down my throat and said you have to believe this or else, and that's why I don't do religion myself, and I'm like pretty anti that. Now I don't care what you believe and stuff. Just don't, you can tell me about it, but don't go or else or death or this or the thing or you go to hell or whatever. Listen, don't worry about that. But there, I'll see you there or I won't. Whatever.
That's a good point. Here's Mindy giving some context. He says, the Old Testament, God is always angry with the Jews because they lose belief in him. Who wrote the Old Testament and seeks vengeance? Hold on a second. So in the Old Testament, I get that first part. God is always angry with the Jews because they lose the belief in him. Okay. And then she says, who wrote the Old Testament and seeks vengeance? So the Jews also wrote the Old Testament. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, he's very vengeful in the Old Testament. In Ezekiel, he's incredibly vengeful. Okay. With the New Testament, which is not written by Jews, people believe in God because Jesus has come. Okay, interesting. So so the Old Testament was written by Jews, and the New Testament was not written by Jews. What does Kanye West have to say about this? No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. Jocko says, if you swap the words God and angels with extraterrestrials in the Bible, it actually makes more sense. Yeah, my point exactly. Good point, Jocko.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jocko says, wow, that is deep. Pretty cool. Okay. Anyway, I forgot why I was talking about. That's what happened to me at Target when I was looking for dinosaur toys. This gentleman was talking to me about Jesus.
So just 3D print your dinosaur toys now.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I said you should just 3D print your dinosaur toys. That way you don't have to worry about that again.
Yeah, it's true, man. I know it's crazy because I knew when I went to Houston, it'd been a while since I've been to that part of Houston because I was house sitting for my friend, and I was exploring. I mean, that part of town is crazy. Like, there's cars everywhere. All the lights are on. I've never been to New York City, but I feel like that's kind of like New York City. But I could just feel, like, I remember when I lived there. I lived really close to that Target. I remember, like, I could just feel everything vibrating around me. It was very subtle, but like people, there's always all these cars, people walking, talking. I could just feel an energy. And yeah, man, when I went into that store, I was like, man, this is wild. Like anything could, I felt like I could see anybody at that Walmart and Target. I could see all kinds of people. Anything could happen. I had to be on edge. It was exciting as a scientist and a field investigator of biology. I liked it. But anyway, I don't even remember how I started talking about that Bible thing. We're talking about Bigfoot originally. But let's see. Oh man, well, I think we talked about a lot of stuff. I think we were just reading all the comments, so that's how I started talking about God.
That's how it happened. Somebody said a thing and then you retorted.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so Jocko says, but why care about the Bible when the Bible doesn't even acknowledge dinosaurs' existence? That's a good look. Some other thoughts I have about that. Did you say they are in the Book of Mormon or they're not in the Book of Mormon?
No, I said neither does the Book of Mormon.
I'm sorry, I still didn't hear you. Say it one more time.
I said neither does the Book of Mormon.
Okay, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, First, let me just say something real quick about the Book of Mormon. I like the Book of Mormon because it's like, to me, it's like the Bible, part 3. Because we have the Old Testament, the New Testament. And I'm like, cool, I love sequels. Let's see what they got to say. I think that's how the Book of Mormon is written as a sequel.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. And that's an interesting way of, yeah. No, that's funny. I like that. You going? I'm stealing it.
You take it. I always saw the Bible as like, look, this is just it's a spiritual guidebook. I don't think it's meant to be a science book. It doesn't have any recipes in it. It's not meant to teach you how to build a house. Not meant to teach you how to take care of livestock. It's not meant to teach you farming. Not meant to teach you about the science, physics. It's a spiritual guidebook. That's how I view it. I don't know.
Well, that's nice of you to say, because I wouldn't seem to say that. I'd say this is the boring garbage dump thing, like the Bible. Why? It's just journals that may or may not help in any way, because they don't.
Let's see. Mindy says, in the Old Testament, the Jews kept losing faith in God, but once Jesus comes, Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, well, I would keep losing faith in God, too, if he kept wiping us out because he was mad at us.
Good point. In the Old Testament, the Jews kept losing faith in God, but once Jesus comes, the newly converted Christians believe in Jesus and thereby God. Interesting. I mean, this Jewish and Christian relationship is odd to me because don't Jews have their own religion, like Judaism, which is opposed to Christianity? So,
well, yeah. Did they never recognize that Jesus was the Son of God, so therefore why he got killed to begin with or something?
Let me call Kanye West, because I know he knows it, but no, I'm just kidding. So my question is, did some Jews, after Jesus was born, did some Jews convert to Christianity from Judaism? That's my question for Mindy.
Well, I would
The
imagine there
problem
was
with
people
so much...
converting all the time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. The problem with so much religion is man corrupts it. Yeah, I think that's true. All right, so we'll want Mindy to see what she says anything about the Bible. But let's see. Okay, back on track now. I'm trying
Was
to
this
see.
about Bigfoot?
It was about Bigfoot. It's a deep dive into Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's not the Bible, apparently.
So once again, I'm gonna have to change the title of this video because it's still a deep dive into Bigfoot, but also we talk about
And
other
more.
subjects like the Bible. Yeah, and our 2 guests didn't show up, but hopefully we'll have them on next Sunday. And we also learned that I have a 1080p camera now, and so did Bobby, and that just melted my computer. But we got through it. We used our critical thinking.
Well, if you ever need an emergency silly guest for some sort like myself, I'm free, usually.
Thank you, Sarah. I do get that. I'll take you up on that. So Mindy says, Jews don't believe in Jesus. They don't believe Jesus is the Son of God, only a prophet. Oh, okay. So this is interesting. Okay, look, Mindy is telling me so much more about the Bible than that guy at Target. That guy at Target just told me that porn. That guy at Target was like, look, porn. He kept saying this. So it was kind of creeping me out. He was like, porn is going to corrupt your soul and lead you to hell. I wanted to tell him, like, hey, man, you should. I wouldn't lead with that. I wouldn't just tell strangers that. Maybe back up
Maybe you're a porn
a little
star.
bit. It's kind of, yeah, I don't know. But Mindy says, yeah, Jews were the first Christians. That's cool. That makes sense. Okay. Jews, so that makes sense. The Jews were the first Christians. Jocko says, good answer. It's just a spiritual guidebook. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for that. Yeah, I view it as a spiritual guidebook. Here's the thing. If you read the 10 Commandments and you read a lot of what the Bible says, it's good advice. I think it's good advice. Don't kill people.
Well,
don't cheat on your wife. Don't steal.
Well, I mean, okay, so I've seen this one thing on one of those, news blooper things, right? Where they're reading off, like, basically a home organizer has made a list of things to do to organize your home. It was like, take out the trash, organize everything, take everything out that you're not sure about, organize it, and then see where you want to. It's like all the normal common sense things, right? So it's like, As humans since the beginning of time need a book out of common sense, then that's not what bathroom readers are for. I mean, and also they're more updated, right? So, why does anybody refer to the Bible for anything anymore? It's really an obsolete guide of humanity. We all should know by now not to kill each other, but yet we still do. So, well, I don't know. What are we gonna do about that, right? That's just kind of a given thing or something. I don't know.
Well, okay, that's a really good take, and I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, we could get that information from other places, like our parents or common sense, or just some,
Mhm.
some bathroom reader. Here's some other reasons why I think Christianity in modern times may be beneficial. Okay, they don't have to do with the Bible. Like, I see people like my mother who go to church, and a lot of them, they just enjoy going to church because it's a social event. They just enjoy going out of the house, and it's just a place they could go and they could have a good time. The other thing is, like, look, my
So is
mother doesn't
bingo.
like, what's that?
So is bingo.
Yeah, I mean, there are other ways to do it, but I mean, the churches are already there. It's just a place that's there. I understand what you're saying, though. Yeah, there's alternatives to all the things I'm saying. There are some alternatives to them. So my point is not that there's no alternatives. It's just that this is one of the things that they provide. Churches provide socialization for a lot of people. The other thing, my mother doesn't like it when I say this, but it seems very obvious to me that when you go to church, you're practicing magic. And that when you're talking to a preacher, you're talking to a magician or a wizard. Because here's the thing, that's not black magic, it's white magic. Because when you praying, it's a form of talking to another being. There's these categories of magic that I read about in this book called Real Magic by Dean Radin, a PhD biologist. He talks about how
Huh.
one form of magic is praying to things that you can't see, like a god. Another form of magic is changing the physical reality with your mind and with your thoughts, which is like what praying is. I do think prayer works. So I think if you're a real Christian and you really believe in something and you get together with a lot of people and you pray, I do think that's a form of white magic, and I do think it actually changes things. But just like Sara said, you don't have to go to a Christian church to do that. You could just get together with your friends and just meditate. But anyway, those are some observations I have about Christianity in particular that I've seen. Let's see. Scotty says, I have read the Quran consists of 114 units, the King James Bible and the Christian Standard Bible, and you were an altar boy in the 70s. Laugh out loud. My outlook on religion has changed in 40 years, big time. Let me see. I read the Quran consists of 114 units. Interesting. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by 114 units? You mean like chapters or books? Let's see. Let's keep going. Let's see. Mindy says, my husband grew up in Moscow during the Soviet Union. Religious texts were off limits, but he took a class in Moscow State University called Scientific Atheism. Whoa. He had access to the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Wait, can you hear me? Okay. Sorry.
Yes.
My cousin turned on the microwave, and then everything went wonky on my end because of course. Anyways, but I was oh, I have a question. So okay, now going back to this magic thing here, okay? Now if you're saying that the prayer thing and all that is white magic, right? But if you're praying to a god that needlessly or wipes out people because angry, then wouldn't that just be more like black magic? If then I don't know somehow.
Okay, that's a good question. This is what my understanding from reading Dean Radin's book called Real Magic. Dean Radin, Real Magic is the name of the book. Look it up. He's a PhD scientist. My understanding from reading that book is what black magic would be. Black magic starts with you. Okay, black magic emanates from you. So if you start praying and you want somebody to fall in love with you, if you want somebody to die, if you're trying to manipulate someone's emotions, that's black magic. So it starts with you, not really who you're praying to. So if you were praying to a Christian God and you were saying, God, please make Emily fall in love with me. Please kill Bobby. I hate Bobby. I don't know why, Bobby. I don't mean that, Bobby. That would be black magic. But
He went on
that's an
my
interesting
stream.
question.
He's a bastard. Yeah, but
He
see, that's another
uses
thing too. What if your intent is to have somebody die, but for the reasons of not because selfishness, because they're actually a bad person? I mean, does that then make you bad too? So,
from
you
my
know?
limited understanding, I'm not an expert. From my limited understanding, yes, that would make you bad. My limited understanding, you're not meant to wish. You're not supposed to wish death on anybody. You're not supposed to be like Dexter from the TV show. You know, you can't just kill serial killers. But those are good
So then, by
questions. I
that
don't.
logic, then we just want to be like God if God just wants to wipe people out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I see a distinction between that practice of prayer and who you're praying to, because I do understand it's very ambiguous to me, the things that God does in the Old Testament, maybe the New Testament. It's very ambiguous whether that's, I'm struggling with whether that's evil or not. Basically massive killing of people. There was another story in the Bible my friend likes to tell me where this, I think his prophet was walking around of God, and some children were making fun of him because he was bald, and then he prayed, that prophet prayed, and two female bears came out of the woods, and he killed the children. And so that is a form of black magic, because he was praying to the Christian God, but he prayed for death, and God gave him death to the children. So that's a pretty good example of what you're saying, Sarah. To me, that's really weird. I'm like, why is God killing children with a bear because they made fun of his prophet for being bald? I'm
Well,
like, that's
why wouldn't he just give the prophet then some hair if it's such a big deal? Like that seems like an easier thing than killing children again, because again, children, kind of got a problem with that.
I mean, you're right. I'm not arguing with you, Sarah, on that one. Let's see.
Mhm.
Scotty B says you hit the nail on the head, Trees. Oh, thank you for that. John says prayer works. I've done it. Very cool.
Well, yes, prayer works if
We were
your
talking.
intent is
We were
pure
talking.
for sure, but you know, should I go pray that other people's YouTube channels slow down so mine goes faster? I mean, that's weird, right? Like, is that, you know?
I mean, that would probably work. I mean, if you're doing prayer the right way, prayer
It's
reminds
the
me
right
of
way
something.
then.
What is the right way?
Yeah,
It's
because every
basically
religion has a different way of prayer.
I think, well, to answer your question, I think it's meditation. I think, uh, there's books out there that teach you how to meditate properly. It's not that complicated, but meditation is to me, meditation and prayer are basically the same thing. So how would you correctly pray in order to hurt someone's channel? You would basically follow the principles of meditation, which could be found in a lot of books that teach you how to do it.
Yeah, that's just a lot of
Uh,
work. I'll just work on my channel the right way.
Um, okay, yeah. What I was going to say about prayer, prayer to me sounds a lot like something I was talking about in my last video about. It was my first time playing Call of Duty Remastered: Modern Warfare. The placebo effect. The placebo effect seems to be the same thing as prayer. Okay, what is the placebo effect? Well, it's funny because it's doctors. Doctors say it's real. Scientists say it's real. Yet it sounds crazy to me. So basically, a scientist or a doctor will give a person a medicine. Okay, they'll say you have this disease, you're very sick, right? Well, here's a medicine, but here's the thing, he's like, look, maybe I'm giving you a real medicine, maybe I'm just giving you a sugar pill, I'm just giving you something fake.
All
I
right.
don't know, you don't know what you're getting. Okay, sometimes it's double blind. Double blind means that the scientist giving the medicine, he doesn't even know. He's like, look,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to give you this thing for an experiment. It may or may not be medicine. I don't know. You don't know. But a certain percentage of people who get sugar pill, they will get better. And the thought is that they're making themselves better because of their own thoughts. And that to me sounds like prayer. Go ahead, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Well, I'd like to be out of chronic pain, and I'd like to have a lot of things, but the reality is, prayer can't fix like me being born with learning disabilities. Like everybody tried to tell me that if I read the Book of Mormon, therefore I would somehow not be dyslexic anymore. I'm gonna tell you, it's not a thing. Okay, there's none of that, right? You can't fix those kind of things with prayer. You can't pray away the gay. You can't do those kind of things, right? That's just not a thing, right? Even if I wanted to change my learning disabilities and stuff, I can't. That's still not a thing, right? You know what I mean? So like, to this day, when people go, well, how can you still have a third grade reading level? You're 40 years old. that's the best I got. I read every day to maintain the third grade. Give me some credit, but they don't, right? It's like, how, explain to me some magic book that I could read that will go, hey, you're no longer dyslexic or something. I'm like, not a thing, you know? I don't care how many you pray or meditate, you can't fix those kinds of things. You can't pray your broken bone fixed. You know, you have to splint it at least and then do some effort, right? You see, like, you know, people always, you know, tell me like, was it faith without, or, you know, faith without works or something like that, or, you know, whatever. If you don't do it yourself, you know, and have faith in it and do it yourself, then nothing's gonna, you know, happen, right? But, you know, I did everything they said, right? Read the Book of Mormon, read the Bible, the pray thing, and all that, right? Magic's still learning disabled. What even was that? How is that helpful? You know, they ostracized me because I can't control a thing, but therefore I'm supposed to be thankful for God or something, right? Like, I don't get it. You know, makes no sense to me.
Okay, well, yeah. Look, Sarah, I totally understand where you're coming from. Yeah, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're having to go in your past, and maybe you're still struggling with people talking about your disability. I've been disabled in the past. I know what it's like to be incredibly sick or not able to function like other people can. I've been to, I went to a preacher one time. My mom took me to him when I was sick, and I told him my problem, and he was like very similar. He basically was just like, suck it up, you know, like his solution was not helpful. I was like, no, I can't just suck up this disease. I have to go to a doctor. I have to be proactive. I have to fix it myself, and maybe I won't fix it. So I understand where you're coming from. So what I'm about to say, I don't know if it's true or not. This is just what I read in the book by Dean Radin, and I think it's an interesting idea. Okay, and you bring up good points. Okay, you know, this is what he says. This is what Dean Radin says. As far as prayer and magic, he says, look, you can't start off with something big. You know, it's a very big deal. He says, one thing he says is you could say, like, look, you could start practicing magic and be like, look, what I want to do is I want to start finding $100, or let's say $10. Every week I want to get an extra $10. You got to start small. And then there's certain things you do, prayer, meditation, and you practice. You build your way up to maybe like I'll go walking and I'll start finding $10 bills. But it does take commitment to do that. And yeah, there's probably some things out there that are way too extreme to change reality, like fixing your dyslexia.
Well, yeah, that also what you're talking about there, it kind of sounds like you're talking about The Secret, right? Manifesting your own, everything, right? You got to have your visual boards and all that kind of stuff too, right? Like, I believe that if you put it out there, like, it's a thing, right? Like, prime example of this is when I was in high school, I had a teacher that told us that if you ever want to do something, just tell people what it is that you want to do, because someday somebody will remember a thing and do it for you because they like you or whatever reason. And I thought upon that always, and I still do to this day, because she had always wanted to ride in the Goodyear blimp, right? She just always wanted to. And then she was casually, talking to somebody about blimps, and they happened to have tickets to one, and they took her, right? So, I get that. If you put it out there, somebody, or you can manifest a thing, right? And stuff like that does make sense and everything like that. It's just, no one person or anything has the right answers. And then when you cluster or fuck everything up like that into one big religion or something, it's like things get lost that are truly helpful, right? Me trying to read the Book of Mormon or whatever to learn how to read, that's not helpful. But me putting it out there to have people come and help me to do things, right? That is helpful, right? That's how I have to do now, right? If I need help with my channel stuff, there's things out there I'm not capable of, right? I have to make the right YouTube connections. I have to put it out there to people, right? And they send me to people, or they do it, or they help me, or they put me in the direction, right? So that is helpful, right? But me sitting here in my room at night praying that somehow the magic's going to happen, that's not helpful at all, right? But I can see that, putting it out there and then, going forth and doing it is in my mind, the proper way to at least start,
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from. Yeah, look, I'll say straight off the bat, I think the way you were treated, from what you told me, by Mormons in your life, I think that was wrong, and I think they were they did more harm than good by what they were saying. And I've been in similar situations with religious people. I guess I just think that I do think that meditating is beneficial, and I think it's possible that it could affect reality, but you have to, we're talking about magic and magicians, you have to train yourself, for instance, like, if you want assistance with your dyslexia, I think it'd be wrong to just say, fix my dyslexia, perhaps a simple prayer or a better prayer. And I'm not taking the word prayer out of it. A better meditation, concentrating, a better thing to think about would be, I want to improve my dyslexia. I want to have access to resources that will help me. You start off kind of small.
See, that would be helpful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. And maybe, you're putting it out now, maybe somebody will hear this and that'll help, something happen. But
well, right, but see, that would be helpful. So could you imagine if that's what the approach was for myself and maybe others? That would be like helpful, right? And then, your view of right and wrong for religion would be different then, right?
I'm not sure. I get what you're saying. Can you repeat that question? And I'll
Oh, no, I'm just saying, like, if they were more helpful, like it said, here are some resources in the real world, right?
Yes.
That would be more helpful instead of, well, if you didn't have enough faith, then why, then of course not. Well, how am I supposed to? I mean, science is still a thing, right? Like, what?
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think that their approach is wrong. Their approach is basically using religion as a sledgehammer. They're just like, look, they throw the Book of Mormon on your desk. They're like, oh, there's your solution. It's more nuisance than that. It's more complicated than that. And yeah, I think they did you a disservice. And I do think, I think they were wrong. I mean, like you said it perfectly. That's what they should have done. They should have been like, look, I understand you have this medical problem. Spirituality can help you, but I'm also going to help you practically. I looked at some people that can help you, or I'm going to work with you to help you with reading comprehension. Yeah. I get you. Okay, let me see. Let's catch up on comments real fast. Where's Bobby? I don't know. Bobby took off. I'm not sure. He had something to do. Okay, here's Mindy talks about magic. What if we want them to die because they're in their pain from cancer or something? Well, there's another interesting gray area. I don't know. I don't know if that counts as bad if black magic.
I believe that though. Like, if the individual themselves is one of those kind of people that is, a believer in assisted suicide because they don't want to die the cripple in the poopy pants because pain and death, praying for their end is a good thing. Especially if that's what they desire, right? That's a good thing. But somebody else would be like, no, everybody deserves to live till they suffer and die horribly. Well, then why? Why? I don't want that. No, that's a headache. Why do you want to suffer and die? Like, you want a headache every day of your life till you're dead? Like, what?
Yeah. That's a good point. Now, John P. says euthanasia. This is something I learned. I was hanging out with my doctor friend over the weekend. Euthanasia, actually, it translates to, the meaning of euthanasia is a good death. It's not just dying. It has to be a good death. That means if you get hit by a car and you're on the pavement for 2 hours, that's not euthanasia, baby. That's not a good death. A good death is supposed to be peaceful, painless.
Well, if you got hit by a car and died instantly, then maybe it was.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, that it would be. An instant death would be a euthanasia. That's why I said if you get hit and you're on the street for 2 hours, that's not an instant death. That would not be a euthanasia. What about the eye for the eye clause? Interesting. Okay, John says, while I see a connection with Satanism and the need to sacrifice children. Weird. I don't know much about Satanism.
That's a whole other topic.
Yeah. And then Mindy says that's the corruption of religion by man. Paranormal Underworld says, hey, Sarah, thank you for being here. Paranormal Underworld.
He's a friend of mine in chat.
Okay, please subscribe. Scotty B says Quran has 114 chapters. Okay, so here Jocko says, what about the parable about the old lady who donated 1 penny and the rich man donated 100. But she donated more because that's all she had. It's also the same when someone's saying a nasty thing. That's interesting. Do like that. Okay. John P says, I prayed before when I was an adolescent. I stopped at 16-year-old. Okay. Jocko says, it might not be so nasty to someone, but it's massively nasty to someone else. That's good.
Exactly. Why are
I see where you're going.
subjective?
Interesting. But maybe we only trust ourselves and we humble enough to put it across. Jocko says, you're so wise, Sara. Yeah, Sara, when a lot of times when Sara asks me a question, I'm like, whoa, I'm like, my brain's thinking. I need time to process it. That's because it's like a deep question.
Sorry and you're welcome.
Okay. Scotty B says, meditation and being one with the planet is my best religion. Living with chronic pain. I have a lot of experience with chronic pain, Scotty, and so does Melinda. Yeah, chronic pain is it's so does Sara. It's trip.
Yeah, I have degenerative disc disease, screw in my foot, chronic sciatica, and also right now I have 2 broken teeth, and I keep getting fever. So hey,
I'm sorry.
that's all right. But I'm still here for you.
Oh. Yeah, just sometimes I tell myself at a party, even though, like, when I'm having medical problems, I like, look, even though the ship is burning down, I'm still gonna party. I'm gonna party all the way until it's completely sunk in the ground. It's sunk in the water.
Right.
I'm partying all the way down, baby. That's kind of my attitude. Cool.
Facts.
All right. Well, yeah, it looks like the second part of this conversation turned into the Bible, religion, UFO encounters, meditation, the secret.
And deep thoughts with Sara.
Cool. Deep thoughts with Sara. Okay, guys. Well, I think it's pretty good. We're on for 2 hours and 51 minutes. Thank you, Sara, for being here. Please subscribe. I'm gonna type in your YouTube channel. I know most people here already subscribe to you, but anybody watching in the future. So what is the, like, okay, do you have a web address like youtube.com/@? What are the words that come after that?
Can you just wrench me and I can just drop it for you, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Wrench you? Oh, I don't know how to wrench somebody, unfortunately. But why don't you just type it? Can you type it in the comments and I'll display it on here?
Okay. You know what I did? I DM'd it to you in Facebook. You can just grab the link and drop it.
Okay,
I forgot. I did that a while ago.
Okay, let's see.
I forgot I did that.
Okay, my channel. There it is. Oh, okay, I see it now. Okay. So it's My Flock Everywhere. I'm gonna go ahead and type it up here. It's just easier to
click
type
on it in the DM. It'll send it to you. You can just hit the. Anyways, you do how you do. You're typing it in is interesting. I find that funny. I've just learned recently that people actually type it in. And I'm like, they do.
Yeah, it's just easier because I don't. It's easier because I don't have. I have Facebook on my phone, but I don't have it pulled up on my PC because I'm afraid it'll like slow down everything. That's why I'm just gonna type it.
See, when I stream, I use my phone. Well, assuming my tech works, I use my phone to drop links because you can't do it on StreamYard, right? So I use my phone to go into the live stream itself to drop the links.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool. Okay, here's a link right here. Ghetto. This should work. YouTube.com/@ my flock is 3v3. What?
It doesn't want to work. You click on it, it doesn't go to it. It's just error. Like your first one did.
I must have misspelled something, so let me try again. Oh, it's a 0. Yeah, the O is a 0. Okay, let's try again.
Okay.
YouTube.com/0. Okay, my FL0 CKIS3 V3 RYWH3 R3. Okay, try this one.
Okay.
one out for size.
Yep, nope, it doesn't
Oh.
go anywhere.
That one I didn't put the @ symbol in there. That's one. Okay, youtube.com/@MYFL0 IS is 3V3RYWH3R3. Okay, try this one. Third time's a charm. Oh no, I misspelled that one too. I
Okay,
left out the K.
John P. Why don't you just have John P. click on my name and go to my channel and just drop my link that way? He's got a wrench.
Oh, John P. John P. Can you do that? While you're
John P.
doing that,
I
I'm gonna
think
try one more time.
Okay, because John P. I think he's actually subscribed to me. I'm pretty sure he is up in my chats often. He is based.
My fuck is ever free.
You're so funny. I love you, man.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm checking this one. I'm double checking this one. I'm triple checking it. Okay, ads.
All right, John P.
youtube.com @L0CK.
All right, John P. With your wrench, click on my name here. It'll take you straight to my channel. And then you're gonna hit the thing that says share. The thing up there that says share. And then you're gonna just then copy the link and drop it in chat.
Try that one.
All right, let's see what
Try
you
this
get
one real
there.
fast.
And oh my God, he did it! That's amazing. Good job. Congratulations. He typed it in right. And then see, John did it. And oh my God, twice it was dropped. That's amazing. Good job, guys. That's awesome.
John did it too.
Teamwork.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and then Mindy says, in the words of Scotty B, "Damn you, wild trees! Damn you indeed." Okay, please subscribe. Please subscribe to Sara's channel. There it is, right there. Go to okay. Now let's do Bobby's. Bobby Dizzle.
Didn't he just ruin your show?
It's yeah, I was gonna say if I mess this one up, it's fine. Nobody corrected. No, I'm just kidding. BobbyDizzle.com. Try that one out. Try that one out, guys. Put it in your pipe and smoke it. Let's see.
Well,
and
okay, does it even light up though?
Yeah, that one's missing the HTTP whatever. Sorry, Bobby.
Oh my God, this is the funniest thing ever. I love you guys.
Okay, now here's mine. YouTube.com @TerribleLizard. See if that one works.
Yes, it is. Congratulations.
Thanks everybody for being here. Everybody new. Thank you, Sara, for being here. That was a lot of fun. I'm not sure when I'm going to be on next. I'm probably going to do a game stream, but for sure next Sunday I'm going to try to have the original author, Mike Quast, an experiencer of Bigfoot, Randy Bauer from Minnesota on the episode. We're going to go over a lot of the same topics, but I have more questions to ask both of them about their book.
Okay, then you can ask my questions too.
Yes, definitely. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end it. Thank you, Sara. Good night, everybody. Signing out.
Hey, guys.
Bye.